Hey fam, welcome. Gonna watch another segment with President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu from Israel as they come to a peace plan with Gaza to release the remaining hostages and a couple of little deals in there, I guess, as pertains to moving forward, where Hamas stand, where Hamas stands and where Israel stands with that. I'm pretty sure the intricacies wasn't what Hamas wanted to hear, but they pretty much have no choice. We all know that they were cave in. That was the only piece that they had to play was the people that they had captured and were keeping. That was the only reason that was preventing them from getting annihilated. And with that, I mean, I think that they knew that they were on the verge of annihilation, and I think the greatest deal maker in the world had to come through and say, hey, let's get busy, let's make a deal. With that said, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Fox right now. So this is not a video of my own, and let's watch this and see what's going on. Thank you, guys, man.
Thank you very much, brother. So this is a big day, a beautiful day, potentially one of the great days ever in civilization. Things that have been going on for hundreds of years and thousands of years, at least we're at a minimum very close, and I think we'll be out very close. And I want to thank Bibi for really getting in there and doing a job. We've worked well together, as we have with many other countries, both of us, with many other countries. The only way this whole situation gets solved. And I'm not just talking about Gaza. Gaza is one thing, but we're talking about much beyond Gaza. And the whole deal, everything getting solved. It's called peace in the Middle East. So today is a historic day for peace. Prime Minister Netanyahu and I have just concluded an important meeting on many vital issues, including Iran, trade, the expansion of the Abraham Accords, and most importantly, we discussed how to end the war in Gaza, but it's just a part of the bigger picture, which is peace in the Middle East, and let's call it eternal peace in the Middle East. So this is far more than anybody expected, but the level of support that I've had from the nations in the Middle East and surrounding Israel and neighbors of Israel has been incredible. Every single one of them. This afternoon, after extensive consultation with our friends and partners throughout the region, I'm formally releasing our principles for peace, which people have really liked, I must say. And these are done, not just routinely done, these are done with total consideration and working with the nations that we're talking about. All of these nations have made contributions to those suggestions. I want to thank the leaders of many Arab and Muslim nations for their tremendous support in developing the proposal, along with many of our allies in Europe. Europe has been very much involved, and as I was told by many of the European leaders, most of them saying, is this true? Are you really doing peace in the Middle East? This is the most incredible thing we've heard. Some think it's the biggest thing they've ever heard. They called just to find out, was it just a rumor or is it actually done? And then he said, have you spoken to the Arab leaders? Have you spoken to all of the other leaders that we have to get? A lot of people involved in this one. We also want to thank Prime Minister Netanyahu for agreeing to the plan and for trusting that if we work together, we can bring an end to the death and destruction that we've seen for so many years, decades, even centuries, and begin a new chapter of security, peace, and prosperity for the entire region. And I want to just say that my meetings and dialogue that we had with so many countries, Saudi Arabia as an example, the king is a phenomenal person. The Emir of Qatar, he's an incredible people. UAE, and that's MBZ and ABZ. We're totally involved. These are the people that we've been dealing with and have been actually very much involved in this negotiation, giving us ideas, things they can live with, things they can't live with. Pretty complex. I mean, after 2,000, 3,000 years, whatever it is, I guess it's got to be a little complex. It would have been done a long time ago. The King of Jordan was with us, as you know, in the United Nations. The President of Turkey, President Erdogan, is a friend of mine, strong man, but a good man. President of Indonesia, somebody who's an amazing leader. Prabowo, he is an amazing leader and respected by everybody. He was in the room with us. We were together with most of these people that I'm mentioning. Others were by phone or the next day. The Prime Minister and the Field Marshal of Pakistan, they were with us right from the beginning. Incredible. In fact, they just put out a statement that they fully believe in this pact. This came out just as I was walking around. They said, sir, we have a big notice from the Prime Minister of Pakistan and from the Field Marshal that they back this 100%. President El-Sisi of Egypt is terrific. And these are people I've gotten to know over the years. I mean, I would say it started around 2015 and then went into 2016 when the presidency officially began. But I've known them actually for a long time, and they're in many cases really great men. I can't say in all cases, but I will tell you in many cases they're great men. And some great women too. They tend to be mostly men, however, I will say that. But if accepted by Hamas, this proposal calls for the release of all remaining hostages immediately, but in no case more than 72 hours. So the hostages are coming back, and I hate even saying this from the standpoint, doesn't sound right, but it is so important to the parents. The bodies of the young men, I believe in almost all cases, the young men are coming back immediately. I met with parents. The parents felt as strongly about getting the body of their dead boy back as they did as though the boy were alive and well. It's so important to them. And it means the immediate end to the war itself, not just Gaza. It's the war itself. Under the plan, Arab and Muslim countries have committed, and in writing in many cases, but I actually would take their word for it. The people I mentioned, I'd take their word for it. To demilitarize Gaza, and that's quickly. Decommission the military capabilities of Hamas and all other terror organizations. Do that immediately. And we're relying on the countries that I named and others to deal with Hamas. And I'm hearing that Hamas wants to get this done too. And it's a good thing. And destroy all terror infrastructure, including the tunnels, weapons, and production facilities. They have a lot of production facilities that we're destroying. They'll also help train local police forces in the areas that we're discussing right now, in particular in and around Gaza, working with the new transitional authority in Gaza. All parties will agree on a timeline for Israeli forces to withdraw in phases. They'll be withdrawing in phases. No more shooting, hopefully, as progress is made toward achieving these goals. Arab and Muslim nations need to be allowed the chance to fulfill these commitments of dealing with Hamas. We have to deal with them. They were the one group that we have not dealt with. I haven't dealt with them. But the Arab countries are going to, and Muslim countries are going to be dealing with Hamas, and I believe they've already been there. I think they probably have an understanding. They haven't maybe mentioned that, but I would imagine they do, otherwise they wouldn't have gone as far as they've gone. If they were unable to do so, then Israel would have the absolute right and actually our full backing, U.S. full backing. Marco's here. A lot of our leaders are here. Our great Vice President, Susie Wiles, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, they've been so involved in this process. I don't think anybody else could have done it or even come to us, but it's we're right there. We're right there. First time in thousands of years, I think you can probably say, if you really look into it, if you study back, if you're a scholar, you would say thousands of years. Israel would have my full backing to finish the job of destroying the threat of Hamas. But I hope that we're going to have a deal for peace. And if Hamas rejects the deal, which is always possible, they're the only one left. Everyone else has accepted it. But I have a feeling that we're going to have a positive answer. But if not, as you know, baby, you'd have our full backing to do what you would have to do. Everyone understands that the ultimate result must be the elimination of any danger posed in the region. And the danger is caused by Hamas. The tyranny of terror has to end, and this is, again, something that we're looking for. This is eternity. This is for forever. To ensure the success of this effort, my plan calls for the creation of a new international oversight body, the Board of Peace, we call it, the Board of Peace. Sort of a beautiful name, the Board of Peace, which will be headed not at my request, but at me. I'm very busy, but we have to make sure this works. The leaders of the Arab world, Israel, and everybody involved asked me to do this, so it'll be headed by a gentleman known as President Donald J. Trump of the United States. That's what I want. This some extra work to do, but it's so important that I'm willing to do it, and we'll do it right, and we're going to put leaders from other countries on, and leaders that are very distinguished leaders, and we'll have a board, and one of the people that wants to be on the board is the UK former Prime Minister, Tony Blair, good man, very good man, and some others, and they'll be named over the next few days, and it'll be quite the board. Working, everybody wants to be on it now. I don't know if that had anything to do. They named me and everybody else wanted to be on it. I guess they figure, well, he's a soft touch. He'll be easy to deal with. Working with the World Bank and others, it will be responsible for recruiting and training a new government that will be made up of Palestinians along with highly qualified experts from all around the world. Hamas and other terrorist factions will play no role in the board, but they'll play no role in the governance of Gaza at all, directly or indirectly. As you know, thousands of Hamas leaders have been killed and soldiers have been killed. And we can never forget October 7th, but thousands have paid the price for that. And now it's time to get our hostages back and get back to trying to build something that's really great and very important. In our meeting today, Prime Minister Netanyahu was very clear about his opposition to a Palestinian state. And he continuously mentions October 7th, and I understand that. Most people do. And I understand and respect his position on many things, but what he's doing today is so good for Israel. I noticed that they have large crowds gathering in Israel all the time, and they have my name up. They like me for whatever reason, maybe I don't know, but they do like me. But they say two things: please get the hostages back, and please end the war. They've had it. It's had it. So I think it's a very popular thing you do, because he's a warrior. He doesn't know about getting back to a normal way of life, but he is a warrior, and Israel's lucky to have him. But now the people want to get back to peace. They want to get back to normalization in a true sense. Several countries have foolishly recognized the Palestinian state. As you know, some of our European friends, allies, good people. But they're really, I think, doing that because they're very tired of what's going on for so many decades. They've been presidents and prime ministers for years, and during this time, having to do with the Middle East, all they're doing is talking about the same thing over and over. They want to see it get back. And nobody wants that more than me, or I believe Bibi too. But the people of Israel want it. They really want it. They want the hostages back. That includes the probably 32 bodies that we're talking about, 20 people that are living, 32 or so people that are dead, and they want to have peace. So let us not forget how we got here. Hamas was elected by the Palestinian people. Israel withdrew from Gaza thinking they would live in peace. Remember that a long time ago, they withdrew. They said, you take it. This is our contribution to peace. But that didn't work out. That didn't work out. It was the opposite of peace. They pulled away. They let them have it. And I never forgot that because I said, that doesn't sound like a good deal to me. As a real estate person, I mean, they gave up the ocean, right? Ron, they gave up the ocean. They said, who would do this deal? And it still didn't work out. They were very generous, actually. And they gave up the most magnificent piece of land in many ways in the Middle East. And they said, all we want to do now is have peace. And that request was not honored. Instead of building a better life for the Palestinians, Hamas diverted resources to build over 400 miles of tunnels and terror infrastructure, rocket production facilities, and hid their military command posts and launch sites in hospitals, schools, and mosques. So if you went after them, you'd be after them and you wouldn't even realize you ended up knocking out a hospital or school or a mosque. A terrible thing, terrible way to have to fight. No fight is good, but that's a real bad one. So there are many Palestinians who wish to live in peace, many. I've seen so many of them. And they have support. And I challenge the Palestinians to take responsibility for their destiny, because that's what we're giving them. We're giving them responsibility for their destiny, fully condemn and prohibit terrorism and earn their way to a brighter future. They don't want the life that they've had. They've had a rough life with Hamas. If the Palestinian Authority does not complete the reforms that I laid out, my vision for peace in 2020, they'll have only themselves to blame. We're giving them an amazing footprint, and they have amazing support from the leaders of the Arab world and the Muslim world. Great leaders. These are great leaders. These are unbelievable leaders that have built great countries and very wealthy countries. What the future holds for the Palestinians, no one really knows, but the plan that we put forward today is focused on ending the war immediately, getting all of our hostages back, getting everything back. Hard to believe when you even say it. And creating conditions for durable Israeli security and Palestinian success. Israeli security is going to be involved. We're going to help you. We'll be there with you in terms of helping with security. We want to make sure it works. We just want to make sure it works. There shouldn't be a shot fired. Now there will be, I guess, because that's the way it seems to be, but they shouldn't have to be within a few days. There shouldn't have to be a shot fired. Maybe for eternity. Wouldn't that be nice? I hope it's true. I can tell you the leadership of that region feels that there's a good chance of it being true. So this will lead to this agreement that we're talking about will lead to a sustainable long-term peace. No president in history has been a greater friend of the state of Israel than I have, in addition to negotiating the Abraham Accords. I like to say it that way because the real people, that's what they call Abraham. I would say Abraham, but it's so much nicer when you say Abraham. So much more elegant. But the Abraham Accords are amazing. Jared, you did that along with your group of geniuses, and nobody thought that could be done. We have 4 countries, and Sleepy Joe Biden didn't do a thing. He didn't even know what the hell they were. He should have had them full up. But I think this will also lead to packing them. And who knows, maybe even Iran can get in there. I hope, we hope we're going to be able to get along with Iran. I think they're going to be open to it. I really believe that. But they could be a member. I long ago said, I'll bet you at some point Iran will be a member of the Accords. And little did I realize it was going to take this turn. It was some turn we did with the V2s. But I think that might very well be there. It's a great thing for them economically. I recognize the eternal capital of Israel. I opened the American Embassy in Jerusalem. That was something that everyone said would never be done, could never be done. Virtually every president for many, many years, for decades, would campaign on making Jerusalem the capital of Israel. They campaigned on it over and over. Is that right, Steve? Is that right? Everyone, and when they got to it, and I understand why now, because it was so, when I got to office, I campaigned on it too. I said, we're gonna make it. And then I'd get calls from the leaders of various countries saying, please don't do it, please don't do it. It will end the whole world, please don't do it. And finally, I just didn't say anything, and I did it. People were calling me before I did it because I heard I was going to do it, and leaders of countries were calling me, and I think it was on a Thursday that I did it, and they called me Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 3-4 times a day, and I said, tell them I'll call them back on Friday. And I announced it on Thursday, and I called them back, the biggest people in the world, and they said, you've done it. I said, done what? You've made the capital of Israel, Jerusalem, and we wanted to talk. I wish you'd called me a little sooner. Maybe I could have done something about it. So that was a lot easier than getting into an argument, because I knew what they were calling about. And you know what? It turned out to be amazing. Everybody thought it was going to lead to the end of the world, right? The end of the world, Ron. That's what they said. It didn't lead to anything. It just led to something that I promised, and something that was very, very popular for Jewish people and a lot of other people too. I recognize Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights, and I cut taxpayer funding to the corrupt United Nations Relief and Works Agency. And the United Nations was interesting because, as you know, a few days ago they introduced me, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States. I'm looking at my teleprompter, and the thing was dead, stone cold, dead. The thing's up here. I have a long, beautiful speech to make. I'm back, 30 feet back, and I'm saying, they're introducing me, there's nothing on my teleprompter. So when I made a speech, I actually got good marks. You think Biden could have done that? I don't think so. I don't think he could have done that. I don't think too many people could have done it. But actually, it was actually more of a speech from my heart, if you want to know the truth. I think it was maybe better in certain ways because it was from the heart. It has to be from the heart, otherwise you're in big trouble. But I cut.
When Donald Trump's agents threw me to the ground, they were trying to silence all of us. Now, he's trying to rig the 2026 election. Prop 50 gives voters the power to stop Trump's power grab. Yes, on 50.
I think what sets Stonefire apart is how we make our delicious food available to our guests.
Dine-in, delivery, takeout, catering, welcoming to all. That's what we want to be.
Stonefire's got something for everyone. It really does.
Show your daughter how much you love her with this beautiful gift. It says, to my daughter, never forget that I love you forever. I hope that you believe in yourself as much as I believe in you. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, remember whose daughter you are and straighten your crown. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, smarter than you think, and loved more than you know. I can't promise to be here for the rest of your life, but I can promise to love you for the rest of mine. Love, Dad. This beautiful message says it all. Supplies are very limited this year, so make sure you get one for your daughter today. Click shop now below.
Taxpayer funding for that very corrupt United Nations Relief and Works Agency, and nobody thought that would be done, and withdrew from the horrible Iran nuclear deal that was imposed upon Israel by Barack Hussein Obama and Biden. And I don't think Biden knew anything about it. I don't think he knows anything about it now, actually, if you ask him. So what is that? And we obliterated Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity, making it impossible for them to have a nuclear weapon, which they would have had probably in about 2 months from then. But I've never asked Israel to compromise its security, but we had big, strong talk. Nobody's been better than Israel. No president's been better to Israel than Donald Trump. But we had a long, strong talk, Bibi and I, and He understands it's time, history has shown, and the people of Israel want it. And the people of the Middle East want it. The people of enemies of Israel want it, but they don't have really too many enemies right now. And you know what? Many countries have gained great respect for Israel, for the way they fight, the job they do, including me. I had respect anyway, but they gained respect. History has shown us that those who have relations with Israel have thrived, while those who have devoted resources and attention toward the destruction and even annihilation of Israel have languished. They haven't done well. Israel's not going anywhere. They're going to coexist with other people and countries in the region, from Syria to Lebanon to Saudi Arabia. The promise of a new Middle East is so clearly within our reach. This is the closest we've ever come to real peace, not fake peace, not political fool's peace. If we can get this difficult problem solved, the opportunities for all within that vast region of this world, it's a vast region. It's unlimited. The Abraham Accords show that all countries are better off when they communicate and work together and embrace new opportunities. I hope Jared and Steve and Susie and Marco and JD, we're great people. I hope you guys are going to work very hard to get these other countries in, because now they have no excuse. There's no longer an excuse. They were somewhere hesitant. And I tell you, the 4 countries that went in, I give them tremendous credit, and it's worked out incredibly well for them. In the same spirit, I'm pleased to report that earlier today, we took another important step toward greater understanding of the region. A short time ago, we had a historic phone call in the Oval Office with Prime Minister Tani, who's really a great person. So we had a great talk, and I was on the phone, and Bibi was talking. Prime Minister Al Thani was of Qatar. They really had a heart-to-heart conversation. It was a great conversation, I thought. It was productive. It was everything that you need to have something turn out to be successful. And I want to thank Bibi, and I want to thank the Prime Minister. It was fantastic. We agreed to launch a formal trilateral mechanism between Israel, Qatar, and the United States to begin a dialogue to enhance mutual security, correct misperceptions, and avoid future misgivings. And I want to thank Qatar, its leadership, and the Emir. He's a fantastic person. I think, I'm going to be his public relations man, because I know him differently than a lot of people know him. But he wants peace. He wants to see peace. And his people, and they really acknowledge the critical role that they've played as mediator. And again, we're not quite finished. We have to get Hamas, but I think they're going to be able to do this. So now it's time for Hamas to accept the terms of the plan that we've put forward today. And again, this is a different Hamas than we were dealing with, because there's over 20,000 have been killed. Their leadership has been killed 3 times over. So you're really dealing with different people than we've been dealing with over the last 4 years, 5 years. Everyone has done their part and come to the table in good faith. Our Arab and Muslim partners are fully prepared to step up and fulfill their commitments for the benefit of the people of Gaza and the entire region. They're willing to step up and do a lot. They really are. There are a lot of good people involved. Everybody who wants to see an end to the violence and destruction should be united in calling for Hamas to accept the extremely fair proposal, so that we can end the war and get us back our hostages right now and have everlasting peace. And I look forward to having relationships with everyone. As the chairman of the board, I'll be involved in meetings with some very smart people that'll be working over there to make sure that we haven't just been wasting time with an agreement that doesn't get done. The task of building peace will not be easy. There's some of the hardest problems in the world to solve, and that's why it's been going on for so many centuries. But too many lives are at stake not to try, and this was more than a try. I mean, I think this is something that gets done when you have virtually every country, and these are powerful countries that have a lot of money, and the money can make things happen. A lot of countries try and they don't have any money. These are very rich countries that can make things happen. So together we'll forge a much safer and more hopeful future for everybody, including Israel. And I want to thank Prime Minister Netanyahu for his partnership, and I want to thank all of the leaders, the kings and the emirs and the presidents and prime ministers, people I've mentioned. And they've been absolutely fantastic to work with, and it's just happened very quickly. It's happened from a couple of weeks before I had a meeting, a couple of meetings, but a couple of weeks before we went to the United Nations, and we had some incredible meetings. It all came to place, it all took place, and everybody wanted to be a part of it. I don't have anybody that's saying, we don't want anything to do with it. It's just the opposite. And I'll tell you, a couple of years ago, a year ago, I don't think we would have had this kind of participation, Mr. VP, right? I don't think we would have had. It's been amazing. The participation was 100%. Everybody wants to be a part of it. And everybody, those very strong countries, everybody wants it to work. So, Bibi, congratulations on this. I think this will be your crowning achievement, frankly. If this all works out, we think it will. It's going to be your crowning achievement. And I want to thank you very much for being here. Thank you, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. President, first I want to thank you for graciously hosting me once again in the White House. And second, I want to thank you for your friendship and for your leadership. From Jerusalem to Tehran, from the Golan Heights to Gaza, you've proven time and again what I've said many times. You are the greatest friend that Israel has ever had in the White House. And Mr. President, you and I both know it's not even close. While you focus at home on making America great again, your leadership abroad is changing the world for the better, ending wars and advancing peace. I believe that today we're taking a critical step towards both ending the war in Gaza and setting the stage for dramatically advancing peace in the Middle East. And I think beyond the Middle East, in very important Muslim countries. I support your plan to end the war in Gaza, which achieves our war aims. It will bring back to Israel all our hostages, dismantle Hamas's military capabilities, end its political rule, and ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel. We would not have achieved this turning point without the courage and sacrifice of our incredibly brave soldiers. They fight like lions to defend the people of Israel, and they serve on the front line in the war between civilization and barbarism. Mr. President, when our two countries stand shoulder to shoulder, we achieve the impossible. Just a few months ago, in Operation Rising Lion and Operation Midnight Hammer, we struck a decisive blow against Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile program. Your bold decision to send those B-2s made the region safer and the world safer. Now, under your leadership, we're taking the next step to win the war and expand the peace. Your plan is consistent with the 5 principles my government set for the end of the war and the day after Hamas. Everybody asks, what is your plan for the day after Hamas? Here's our plan. Pass it in the cabinet. All our hostages, both those who are alive and those who died, all of them will return home immediately. Hamas will be disarmed. Gaza will be demilitarized. Israel will retain security responsibility, including a security perimeter for the foreseeable future. And lastly, Gaza will have a peaceful civilian administration that is run neither by Hamas nor by the Palestinian Authority. If Hamas agrees to your plan, Mr. President, the first step will be a modest withdrawal, followed by the release of all our hostages within 72 hours. The next step will be the establishment of an international body charged with fully disarming Hamas and demilitarizing Gaza. I appreciate your willingness to lead the body, Mr. President. I really appreciate it because you have a lot of things to do. This is important. And it reflects the confidence that this will give everyone, that things will be followed up on all the commitments made. The fact that you're taking this on, I think helps a lot to make sure that everything flows in the direction that we want. Now, if this international body succeeds, we will have permanently ended the war. Israel will conduct further withdrawals linked to the extent of disarmament and demilitarization, but will remain in the security perimeter for the foreseeable future. I think we should understand that we're giving everybody a chance to have this done peacefully, something that will achieve all our war objectives without any further bloodshed. But if Hamas rejects your plan, Mr. President, or if they supposedly accept it and then basically do everything to counter it, then Israel will finish the job by itself. This can be done the easy way, or it can be done the hard way. But it will be done. We prefer the easy way, but it has to be done. All these goals must be achieved because we didn't fight this horrible fight, sacrificed the finest of our young men to have Hamas stay in Gaza and threaten us again and again and again with these horrific massacres. Mr. President, I was encouraged by your clear statement at the UN against the recognition of the Palestinian state. That would be an outcome that, after October 7th, would reward terror, undermine security, and endanger Israel's very existence. As for the Palestinian Authority, I appreciate your firm position that the PA can have no role whatsoever in Gaza without undergoing a radical and genuine transformation. In your 2020 peace plan, which you mentioned just now, you made clear what that transformation requires. It's not lip service. It's not checking a box. It's a fundamental, genuine, and enduring transformation. And that means ending pay to slay, changing poisonous textbooks that teach hatred to Jews, to Palestinian children, stopping incitement in the media, ending lawfare against Israel and the ICC, the ICJ, recognizing the Jewish state, and many, many other reforms. It won't come as a surprise to you that the vast majority of Israelis have no faith that the PA Leopard will change its spots. But rather than wait for this miraculous transformation, your plan provides a practical and realistic path forward for Gaza in the coming years, in which Gaza will be administered neither by Hamas nor the Palestinian Authority, but by those committed to a genuine peace with Israel. I think this can be not only a new beginning for Gaza, I think it can be a new beginning for the entire region. Under your leadership, we can re-energize, I've got to contribute my own, we can re-energize the Abraham Accords. That's what it's called in the original Hebrew. Abraham. Abraham is fine. Abraham, however you want to call it. Under your leadership, Mr. President, we can re-energize the Abraham Accords that we forged 5 years ago. We can expand them to many more Arab and Muslim nations that choose moderation over extremism. I think there's an opportunity here. It's not going to be easy, it's tough going, but I think if we succeed, you're absolutely right. We're going to open possibilities that nobody even dreamed of. But I think we dream of them. As you've told me, Mr. President, and you've told the world many, many times, you said, remember October 7th. Remember October 7th. And we do. We will never forget the horrors of October 7th, and we will do whatever is necessary to make sure they don't happen again. Since October 7th, Israel's enemies have learned a hard truth. Those who attack us pay a heavy price. But those who partner with us advance progress and security for their peoples. President Trump just said it. It's also in the Bible. It says, those who will bless you will be blessed, and those who will curse you will be cursed. And that's actually what is happening. We want the blessings. I think we've done a lot in the past 2 years to end the curse. We're not finished, but we've done a lot. And we've done a lot together to end the curse. I want to thank your entire team for their efforts to get to this point. I especially want to thank Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner for their indefatigable work to bring Israel and Arab states in the region closer together. I am deeply grateful to both of them for their work. We had a phone call today just to make it clear. I said to the Prime Minister of Qatar, Israel was targeting terrorists, wasn't targeting Qatar. And of course we regretted the loss of the Qatari citizen, wasn't our target. And I very much appreciate President Trump's proposal to have a trilateral body, the United States, Israel, and Qatar, to work out respective grievances. There are quite a few. But if we could try to mitigate them or put it on a different footing, I think that would be good for everyone. Above all the people, the fine team, many helpers who've done this, I want to thank you, Mr. President. History has already shown that under your leadership, Israel and America can change the face of the Middle East. And today I'm hopeful that your plan to end the war in Gaza will do so again and do so soon. It will free our hostages, end Hamas's tyranny in Gaza, and enable a more secure and prosperous future for the peoples of our region. Thank you, Mr. President. May God bless America. May God bless Israel. May God bless the indispensable alliance between our countries. May I add in Hebrew, may we all be inscribed in the book of life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bibi. So I think while we wait for these documents to be signed and get everybody in line, I think it maybe is not really appropriate to take questions. I'm meeting with, as you know, a couple of Democrats in a little while about the country, about keeping our country open. They're going to have to do some things because their ideas are not very good ones. They're very bad for our country. So we'll see how that works out. But this is something that was really historic today. This was something that was amazing. I think, Bibi, I mean, depending on you, I think while we're waiting for signatures and waiting for approvals from a lot of different countries that are involved in this, we probably shouldn't take questions, or would you like to take a question or two from perhaps a friendly Israeli reporter, if there's such a thing?
That's a very, very tough proposition. But I would think, Mr. President, that I would go by your instinct that this is, we'll have enough time for questions. Let's settle the issue first, I think. No.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, as you're watching there, shaking hands.
What drew me to DaVita and dialysis was really just helping people in an outpatient setting. I think as a social worker, we can provide a lot of resources and help them with community needs. Seeing them long term, knowing that this is life sustaining, I thought this would be a really good fit, and I've come to really love it.
They're suing all our companies. And if that's going to happen, we want to be the ones that sue, not them. Use it almost as a form of running European countries, and the EU in particular has been very violent in its lawsuits against our companies, and frankly, very violent and very bad to our airlines. I've gotten calls from the heads of airlines saying they stop in Europe and they're getting charged all sorts of taxes that they never even heard of. They stop and they're getting fined and charged, and they do it only with American companies. They're not doing it to other countries, so we're stopping it. And we have another thing, we have another step to go, and if they don't shape up, as an example, Apple has had to pay like $17 billion in a lawsuit that nobody thought was worth anything. And I won't get into the judge or the decision or how the decision was arrived, but I'm pretty good at this stuff, and I think it's disgraceful. And Google's being sued, Facebook's being sued, and many others are being sued by their so-called government, if you call it a government, EU. And they don't treat us right. They don't treat us right as a country. So if we're going to protect our companies, we have to protect our companies. So we're not going to have any companies left anymore. I also want to thank Apple, though, for announcing they're going to invest $500 billion in our country. That's the biggest investment anybody's probably made to this date. And they're going to do it very quickly, and that's because of tariffs. They don't want to pay the tariffs, and they feel very strongly about the country now. They wouldn't have done it without us. Without the Trump administration, they wouldn't have done it, but they feel very strongly about the direction of the country. The polls have shown that too. The polls are coming out showing direction of the company is the best, of the country is the best they've ever seen, actually. Best they've ever seen. So I just want to thank Tim Cook and Apple for the confidence. $500 billion, that's the biggest investment anyone has made in a short period of time.
Mr. President, have you spoken today with the House Republican holdouts who said they would not be supporting the budget resolution?
Well, I'm not involved in that. They know what I want, and the Senate knows what I want too. And the Senate's got a bill that's very strong, having to do with the taxes, because the taxes is what's bringing all these companies in. So, and without it, by the way, you'd have to double your own taxes. Everybody would be doubled up, and you'd have the biggest tax increase ever. So the House has a bill and the Senate has a bill, and I'm looking at them both, and I'll make decisions. But I don't know where they are in the vote. I know the Senate's doing very well, and the House is doing very well, but each one of them has things that I like. So we'll see if we can come together.
Mr. President, can you clarify, hopefully once and for all, what your expectations are with this email to federal employees? What are you going to use that information for? And do you see it as voluntary, like OPM said, or
well, it's somewhat voluntary, but it's also, if you don't answer, I guess you get fired. What it really is do people exist? We have this massive government with millions of people, and nobody knows who's working for the government, who's not. So what they're doing is they're sending out a letter to everybody, and they're saying, what were the things you did last week? I guess they asked for 5. And if people are working, it's easy. I can tell you 5 things I did last week. I can tell you 5 things I did 6 weeks ago, right? If they're there and they're working, they're able to say they did 5 things during work. And that means they're working and they're with us and they have no further obligation. If they're not, it could be there's no such person. It could be that the person's no longer working. They're no longer living at that address. They may be moved. Maybe they moved to a different country, or maybe the person doesn't exist. And we then take that person off the payroll, and we save a lot of money by doing that. But that's one of the only ways. I think it's a very smart thing. And it says, if you don't answer, essentially, there's a penalty to pay. Like, that's the end of the job.
Musk has said that. The order itself doesn't say that. I think that's part of the confusion. Is he speaking for you when he says...
Yeah, everybody speaks for me. I'm the one, I'll take responsibility. The old statement, the buck stops here, right? Famous statement. Well, I can say the same thing, the buck stops here. No, we have to find out if people are getting paid and they're not working. And, they have a problem. Let's say they have another job, and then they write in false statements. It's a big problem if they write in false statements. They may be working for somebody else, but getting paid by the U.S. government. And that would mean that they're not allowed to be doing that. You know, they're not allowed to be working for us and be working for somebody else. We're paying them a lot of money. We're paying them. So we'll see. That solves that problem. Most people aren't willing to say that, you know, we're doing this, and this for the U.S. government, and yet they're at another job, because that's a big problem for them if they do that. So in some cases, they're not writing back. And if they don't write back, they end up eventually losing their job. We give them extensions, but you know, that was something we thought about a long time ago. We give them extensions, but we'll see. We have to make sure, number one, that we have people, number two, that they're working, and number two, they're working for us, not for another company.
Is it true that President Zelensky's coming on Friday to meet with you, and is the federal deal sorted out?
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that he's coming on Friday. Certainly, it's okay with me if he'd like to, and he would like to sign it together with me, and I understand that's a big deal, very big deal. And I think the American people, even if you look at polling, they're very happy because, you know, Biden was throwing money around like it's cotton candy. And it's a very big deal. It could be $1 trillion deal, it could be whatever, but it's rare earths and other things. And look, we're spending hundreds of billions of dollars on Ukraine and Russia fighting. A war that should have never, ever happened. That's a war that would have never happened if I were president. And it didn't happen for 4 years. People say, how do we know that? It didn't happen for 4 years. Would have never happened. And nevertheless, this guy went into this situation and he spent money like nobody's ever seen. $350 billion. The other thing that we don't like is that Europe has spent $100 billion. We've spent $350 billion. Europe gets their money back because they spent it in the form of a loan. And we just gave them, whether it's 300 or 350 billion, nobody really knows. They can't even tell me the answer to that, but it means probably more than that. So what we're doing is now we're saying, look, we want to be secured. We want to get that money back. We're helping the country through a very, very big problem, a problem like very few people have had. Shouldn't have had this problem because it shouldn't have happened, but it did happen. So we have to straighten it out. But the American taxpayer now is going to get their money back plus.
Mr. President, yesterday with Emmanuel Macron, you said you spoken with Putin about the idea of peacekeepers in Ukraine, that Putin was fine with it. The Kremlin, I guess, has said that that's actually unacceptable to them.
Well, that's not what I was told, but you're going to need some form of peacekeeping, so something will be done that's going to be satisfactory to everybody. We need peacekeeping too.
Any situation
It's actually something I did discuss, but a form of peacekeeping that's acceptable to everybody, ultimately we'll be able to agree on something, I'm sure.
With Ukraine and its mineral deal, what does Ukraine get in terms of
$350 billion and lots of equipment, and military equipment, and the right to fight on, and originally the right to fight. Look, Ukraine, I will say, they're very brave and they're good soldiers, but without the United States and its money and its military equipment, this war would have been over in a very short period of time. In fact, I was the one that gave the javelins. You remember the famous javelins? That was me. That wasn't Obama. It wasn't Biden. It wasn't anybody else. It was me. And they wiped out a lot of tanks with those javelins. And the expression was that Obama gave sheets and I gave the javelins. That was a big deal at the time. It wiped out. That was the beginning when people said, wow, that's something. Well, that was American equipment. Without American equipment, this war would have been over very quickly. And American money, too. I mean, a lot of money.
So that war fighting equipment and the ammunition, that's sustained going forward for Ukraine. How long is it sustained?
Well, it could go forward for a while, and maybe until we have a deal with Russia. We need to have a deal with Russia, otherwise it's going to continue. But now when Americans put up their money, the taxpayer money, and the president approves it, we're getting our money back in some form. But it could go on for a while, or it could be settled quickly. I think it's going to be settled quickly. I spoke with President Putin. I think he wants to settle it. And once you get on with life, it's horrible. What's happening horrible. Thousands of soldiers a week are being killed, and others too, but especially on the battlefield. Thousands a week are being killed, and we want that to end. Yeah, Brian?
Yes, okay. Real quick, Carolyn, press secretary, sent an earthquake through that briefing room
HCA would not have any control over placing media in the seats, the briefing room. Just want to get your thoughts on that. And also on Air Force One, it's trending on X. People are talking about it.
Well, we're going to be now calling their shots. As you know, we won that lawsuit right there. See the Gulf of America, which is a beautiful name. Most people agree. I don't know. It's, AP has been terrible. But I think they're radical left. I think they're third-rate reporters. I know the specific young lady that works on the account is terrible. She's a radical left lunatic, as far as I'm concerned. They don't treat us fairly. That's number one. And number two, they had no right to do that. This is the Gulf of America. And if you look at that shoreline, look at that shoreline. Look, from Florida, or most of it is, it's called America. And vast majority, like big numbers. So I'm just admiring it as I look at it. I'm getting teary-eyed, but I don't want you to say Trump broke down and started crying. No, how beautiful is that? Look at the shoreline. Look at that. That's America.
Can I shift our attention to Canada real
Yes,
quick?
please.
Last week, I spent some time with two government officials for Canada.
Yeah.
I was asking them how realistic is it that Canada would be the 51st state?
Yeah.
And they told me there is a path. Alberta is first, and then they sign on, Saskatchewan would follow, and then you go west to British Columbia. There is a movement in Canada to join us. I need your thoughts on that and how that's perceived.
So it's true. Thank you, Brian. It's true. A lot of people in Canada are liking becoming our beautiful, cherished 51st state. They'll have to pay much lower taxes. They'll have the ultimate security. You know, they don't pay very much for security right now because they rely on us, which is really unfair to us. They make cars that we could make, and they send them back into the United States. They make a lot of things, including the sending of oil and everything. We don't need their oil. We don't need their lumber. In fact, we're going to be freeing up, and I've asked Howard Lutnick to get that done with Lee and everybody, Lee Zeldin, environmental. We're freeing up our forests. We're going to be able to take down trees. Right now, you know, we're so restricted environmentally. We're going to be freeing it up with an emergency order. We have an emergency order, and we're going to be freeing up our forests. We have more forests than almost anybody, and great lumber, great trees. We don't need anybody's trees. We don't need trees from Canada or anybody else. In fact, we have to put the slits, as they call them, the area, 50, 60-yard area in between areas of trees. It stops the fires. And frankly, California should have been doing that for years. It's almost getting late. They're going to run out of forests the way they're going. What a shame. And by the way, the water is flowing in California. I hope you people have seen it. But the water is flowing. Do you have a picture of that? Hold it up. Do you have a picture of that? Get a picture of it, please. You know, we had a little skirmish in California. I can't believe we had to do that. But we opened up the water in California. The water was flowing into a place called the Pacific Ocean, which for the Pacific Ocean is only a drop. But for us, it's more water than we can use in California. So I'll get you some photographs, but it's a beautiful sight. The water is flowing in California. Beautiful water from the Pacific Northwest and beyond. And it flows down, and instead of being routed out to the Pacific Ocean, and this has been going on for 20 years more, in order to take care of a certain species of fish, which wasn't doing very well without water, I can tell you. So that's a big deal. It's like not reported, it's incredible. But California has a lot of water. That's going to take care of farmers. It's going to wetten up the land. And it's going to go all the way down to Los Angeles, where they have curfews on water, where they have all sorts of blocks on water. You can only use so much. We're going to put until just recently, they were going to put a number of gallons per person living in a house in Beverly Hills on the water. You're not going to have that problem anymore. Do you have a picture? Let me just see what that looks like. How beautiful is that? Look at that beautiful water flowing. Look at that. That's coming into the dikes and other means of transportation. Isn't that beautiful? Who would believe that? That's all water they could have had. I went to the governor during my first term and I said, why don't you do this? And they said they have an environmental problem with clean water. If this water were there, you would have had those fires. You had sprinklers, they make people put sprinklers in the ceiling of a home, and they had no water in them. With this, they would have had a lot of water in them. They would have all been full. They would have had you would have had a whole different deal down there. You probably wouldn't have had a fire, but if it was, it would have been small, would have been put out. Yeah, the fire hydrant's not working in California. So it's a beautiful site. These are canals that were built. These were all built. And you saw them for years. They were empty. Concrete. They call them the V-shapes or the half pipes. And they're shaped different forms, but they're shaped, and they rush down through the farm areas where the farmers can take it, and down to Los Angeles. And they were sitting empty for years. And now look at that. Look at that way it looked. It wasn't easy. We had to be very unfriendly to get into those areas. We opened it up.
Mr. President.
I essentially attacked California. Can you believe it? I attacked California. Let's go.
At the outset of your administration, sir, you committed to ending the weaponization of government, to holding those accountable who participated in the weaponization of government.
Hold it. This is a good one. Is everybody listening? Deranged Jack Smith. We're going to call it the Deranged Jack Smith signing or bill. Go ahead.
One law firm that provided pro bono legal services to the special counsel's office under Jack Smith's leadership was Covington and Burling. As a result of those actions, we're now going to be suspending and putting under review the security clearances for the attorneys and employees at that firm who worked with Jack Smith's team. And we're going to continue holding the people who were responsible for the weaponization of government who supported it accountable for what they did.
And you'll be doing this with other firms as time goes by, right?
We're looking at sort of the whole panoply of options.
The weaponization of our system by law firms, even pro bono work they're doing just in order to clog up government, stop government. And nobody knows about it more than me. And hopefully that'll never happen again.
Covington and Burling.
Mr. President, may I ask you a question about Europe for long term? Do you plan to maintain the number of U.S. troops?
Wait, I just want to savor this one, please. Who would like this pen? Hey, why don't you send it to Jack Smith? A deranged person.
What do you say to people who were targeting an individual firm or individuals who aren't Jack Smith?
Excuse me, I've been targeted for 4 years, longer than that. So you don't tell me about targeting. I was the target of corrupt politicians for 4 years, and then 4 years after that. So don't talk to me about targeting. Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. President, there are approximately 2 million federal employees right now. By the end of your term, what do you expect that number to be? What would you like that number to be?
Well, it'll be lower, but I can't tell you. Everybody knows I ran on downsizing government, but making government better. I ran on tariffs and making our country rich, and that's what it's going to do. We're going to be doing something else that's going to be very, very good. We're going to be selling a gold card. You have a green card. This is a gold card. We're going to be putting a price on that card of about $5 million, and that's going to give you green card privileges plus. It's going to be a route to citizenship, and wealthy people will be coming into our country by buying this card. They'll be wealthy, and they'll be successful, and they'll be spending a lot of money and paying a lot of taxes and employing a lot of people. And we think it's going to be extremely successful. It's never been done before or anything like this, but it's something that we're going to be putting out over the next, would you say 2 weeks out? Do you want to say a couple of words about it?
Sure. Mr. President, are there
Wait a minute.
requirements for that gold card? Do you have to invest a certain amount of money in this country in order to qualify for that gold card?
Yeah, exactly.
So the EB-5 program was really, you lend some money, but it was full of nonsense, make-believe and fraud, and it was a way to get a green card that was low priced. So the president said, rather than having this sort of ridiculous EB-5 program, we're going to end the EB-5 program. We're going to replace it with the Trump Gold Card, which is really a green card gold. So they'll be able to pay $5 million to the U.S. government. They'll have to go through vetting, of course. We're going to make sure they're wonderful, world-class global citizens. They can come to America. The president can give them a green card, and they can invest in America, and we can use that money to reduce our deficit Why do we give out lotteries of green cards? Why do we give out EB-5 for green cards? President of the United States understands that the right answer is, why don't we eliminate the deficit of the United States of America instead?
The gold card, well, millions, but the gold card will bring in with it people that create jobs, very high level people. I think companies will pay to get people in. For instance, you today graduate from the Wharton School of Finance or Harvard or Stanford or any college, and nobody knows if you can even go to work for a company. So Apple and all these companies that want to get people to be working for them will be able to buy a card, and for the people that are number one in their class at top schools, I see that as one of the things. But generally speaking, it'll be people with money and people that create jobs, and they won't have to pay any tax on income outside of the United States, which they're not paying right now. They're not citizens, but they'll have to pay if they create jobs in the United States. They'll pay full taxes like everybody else. So you're getting big taxpayers, big job producers, and we'll be able to sell maybe 1 million of these cards, maybe more than that. And if you add up the numbers, they're pretty good. As an example, 1 million cards would be worth $5 trillion. 5 trillion.
Wow.
And if you sell 10 million of the cards, that's a total of $50 trillion. Well, we have 35 trillion in debt. That'd be nice. So we'll see. But it could be great. Maybe it will be fantastic. We have it all worked out from the legal standpoint. It's totally legal to do. It hasn't been done before. It's been done in many different forms. We give them away. Why should we give them away? We shouldn't give them away. And I think it's something very exciting. I think it's potentially just something that we're all very excited about. So it's a gold card. It's somewhat like a green card, but at a higher level of sophistication. It's a road to citizenship for people. And essentially people of wealth or people of great talent, where people of wealth pay for those people of talent to get in, meaning companies will pay for people to get in and to have long-term status in the country. And I think it's something we're very, very happy about. Would you have anything to say about that?
Well, many other countries, by the way, do this, including, of course, your 51st state does that.
The money's earmarked for deficit reduction?
It may be earmarked for deficit, but it actually could be more money than that. I mean, if you did 10 million, it would be, you'd have $15 trillion left over. But generally, it's going to be paid down debt, yes.
Do you need Congress for this?
No, we don't need Congress, no, because we're not doing citizenship, we're doing the card. It's a path to citizenship, a very strong path to citizenship, but we're not doing the citizenship. For that, I'd have to get Congress.
And would all countries be eligible for this gold card?
Depends. The countries largely, the people will be vetted very carefully.
Mr. President, in Ukraine, would you provide military support for Ukraine in the future under a peace agreement?
Say it again louder.
Would you provide military support for Ukraine in the future as part
You mean like
of the peace
security?
agreement? Yeah.
Well, people are going to do it. I think Europe will largely be responsible for that. European countries will be responsible.
But Macron asked for a U.S. backup.
Well, we'll see. I mean, right now we're just in the process of negotiating. We've pretty much negotiated our deal on raw earth and various other things. We'll be looking at that security. You're talking about general security for Ukraine later on. I don't think that's going to be a problem. There are a lot of people who want to do it. And I spoke with Russia about it. They didn't seem to have a problem with it. So I think they understand. They're not going back in. Once we do this, they're not going back in.
So no chemical aircraft. Would the U.S. provide, for instance, air defense?
Well, I just told you, right now we're not providing anything. You know, it's about Europe too. Europe put in 100 billion and we put in $350 million. It's not a fair thing. You know, we would normally say, and I say it now anyway, but we want equalization. They should put up actually more money than us because they're right there. We have an ocean in between. But we've had very good talks with Russia, we've had very good talks with Ukraine, and we think it maybe will come to an end and we'll stop killing young people all over the battlefield and elsewhere.
All Europe, so do you plan to maintain having military presence in Europe?
not, send up like tens of thousands of troops.
We'll be involved. Yeah, we'll be involved in Europe. We're involved in Europe now. Europe is our friend. They take advantage of us on trade. We don't like that. What the EU does, we don't like that. But we'll solve that the old-fashioned way. We'll give them the same reciprocal numbers. You know, we're talking about a reciprocal tax, you know that. And if they charge us, we charge them. Right now, they charge us much, much more than we charge them. And they have non-monetary taxes also and tariffs. And we're going to change that. It's all changing. It's all changing. We're not going to be the people that we were. We have people in this office sitting right at this desk or another model of this desk. Because as you know, the other desk is right now being refurbished. No, not that I know. No, Steve, and the Middle East has been great. Saudi Arabia has treated us really well. They really have. I think Qatar has treated us very well too. They want to get that whole mess ended in the Middle East. You know, we don't even talk about that anymore. You guys haven't asked one question about the Middle East, but the Middle East seems to be doing relatively well.
May I ask about the Middle East? For months, even before you were elected in November, you've spoken about your desire to free all of those hostages that have been held by Hamas since October the 7th, a year and a half ago. And just a few weeks ago, you gave an ultimatum. You said if they're not all released by noon on February the 15th, there would be hell to pay. Is Hamas thumbing their nose at you, Mr. President?
No, I think the opposite. So, as you know, they weren't going to release any more hostages. And I said there's going to be hell to pay. And then they agreed that they were going to release the hostages that they had agreed to release, plus an extra one. And so that you could say that was a big difference. But I said it from that point, it's up to Bibi, Netanyahu, and Israel. I may have taken a different stance. But they did release, they went back to releasing the hostages. But if you remember, they said we weren't going to release any. They've totally ended it. And I said, well, they're not going to release any. They'll be held to pay. And but the rest is really up to him. What I may have done it differently than him. It's not my decision. It's his decision. But they did release all of those hostages. So.
Mr. President, when you spoke to Vladimir Putin, did he raise or did you discuss at all the possibility of a minerals deal on Ukraine land that Russia now controls?
I didn't discuss it. I'd like to buy minerals on Russian land too, if we can. The rare earth, they have very good rare earth also. They both do. I would say that, and oil and gas. Look, it's a great thing. If we sell, it's great for Russia too, because we can do deals there. They have very valuable land that isn't utilized. So something like that could take place. Yeah. No, we haven't lifted any sanctions on anyone. I guess it will be at some point, but right now we haven't agreed to lift sanctions on anybody.
On that gold card, getting back to the fascinated by this.
You should be fascinated. Your taxes will go down to nothing.
Would a Russian oligarch be eligible for a gold card?
Yeah, possibly. Hey, I know some Russian oligarchs that are very nice people. It's possible. They're not quite as wealthy as they used to be. They're not as wealthy as they used to be. I think they can afford. I think they can afford $5 million. No, a lot of people are going to want to. A lot of people are going to want to be in this country, and they'll be able to work and provide jobs, and build companies, and pay taxes. All of those things. It's an incredible. It's an incredible thing. I mean, this is the group that is the first to hear it. Nobody's heard about it. Nobody ever thought about it, but we've been thinking about it very, very strongly over the last week. And I was going to announce it sometime next week, and I figured, why not? We have a lot of cameras blazing right now. We might as well do it now. We'll have Caroline announce it the next time. No, it's a great thing. The gold card. Remember the words, the gold card. Somebody said, can we call it the Trump gold card? I said, if it helps, use the name Trump. I'll give it to you for free.
Mr. President, you probably just launched 10,000 stories. Do you want to elaborate a little bit more on what Russian lawyers know?
I know. Isn't it interesting how many stories we do tell? And they all turn out to be true, and they all turn out to be ultimately correct. You know, Trump was right about everything. Do you have one of those Trump was right about everything hats? I'm going to give it to this gentleman. Get me one of those.
But they're all going to be vetted. Everybody who comes in gets vetted, okay? They get vetted, so you got to, you know. We're going to begin in 2 weeks.
About 2 weeks. The sale will start in about 3 weeks.
Mr. President, do you see a more active role for the presidency now, given to the Senate?
I hope so. I mean, look, I think that we want to get that country back on its feet. Right now, it's been destroyed. It's still up here. Give me all of them. Look. See that? Trump was right about everything. It just came in. Somebody said, I said, this was sent in by a fan. I said, I think we should make some of them. Yeah? But we were, pretty much. You want one?
I'll pass it.
Are you allowed to take one? Because he'll consider it. I know him well. He's sort of a stiff. Brian, you're not a stiff. He's sort of a stiff guy. He'll take other things, but not a free hand.
Always say yes to the president. Always say yes to the
Would
president.
anybody like one?
Mr. President, an easy question perhaps for you, maybe it's difficult. I'm going to ask you this question about this.
Who do you work for?
I work for 2 news organizations.
Who?
I work for 2 news
Yeah, who are they?
I work for Gray Television, America's second largest broadcaster, and I work for iHeartRadio. Let me ask you the easier, tough question, Mr. President. The Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl. Are they being extended an invitation?
They will be. We haven't yet, but we will be. I thought it was a great performance by them, and absolutely they'll be extended that invitation. Would you do that right away? By the way, we'll do it right away. We're going to do it sometime today, and they deserve to be down here, and we hope to see them. We have a lot of teams. We just had the great hockey team, as you know, Florida come here. We have many of the great athletes come that win things.
What's the main obstacle for bringing up this PGA Tour good ball?
Well, they have to get together. You know, they've had a lot of discussion back and forth. They both are meaning well, and a deal will ultimately happen. I think it'll happen pretty quickly. It'd be nice to see the golfers, the best golfers, be able to play against each other.
What's your role been in this?
Just to help expedite it. Tiger was here, Adam Scott was here, Jay Monahan was here the other day, just to really help expedite it. We had Yasser here from Saudi Arabia, great guy. These are all great people, and they want to work it out, so if I can help them work it out. I don't get anything out of it. If I can help them work it out. I just think golf, it's very much of an individual sport, and you want to see the best players playing against each other, not playing in 2 different locations, right?
What's going to be more challenging, the PGA deal or Russia-Ukraine deal?
I think the PGA deal is much more complicated.
Sir, may I ask you a Middle East question, if I may? What's your take on what's happening in the West Bank, what Israel?
Well, it's a movement up there that a lot of people are concerned about. And there's been a lot of Israeli movement up there for a reason. All of a sudden, maybe they're not feeling so good about that. So that'd be terrible. I hope that doesn't happen. But there is movement up there that nobody knew about. Right? You know that, right?
Yeah, and when you say, are you concerned about it as well?
I'm concerned about everything. I want the world to be peaceful. You know, when I left here, we had no war. We had defeated ISIS in less than 4 weeks. In fact, I took the general that defeated ISIS and I put him in charge of the whole ball game, because that's what we want. We want winners. Raising Cane, you know, Raising. And when I heard that name, I said, I like that name. That's the kind of general I like. So we'll see. But he was great. He's a great soldier. Not a politician, a soldier, a real soldier. You know that, Brian. This guy was the real. This guy's the
story a million times.
Yeah, this guy's the real deal. And I think he's going to do a great job. But think of it, we had no wars, we had no problems, we had no inflation, we had no problems. And then all of a sudden you have October 7th in Israel, which was horrible. And then you see what happened with Ukraine. Russia would have never gone in if the election weren't rigged. It was a rigged election. The 2020 election was rigged. And we got out of it, and you see what happened. You see what happened to our country. Inflation, Afghanistan, that horrible withdrawal from Afghanistan. I think when Russia saw what happened in Afghanistan, they said, wow, it's a paper tiger. We're not a paper tiger. We are the strongest military force in the world. And by the way, Pete Hegseth is doing a great job. But we didn't have wars. We didn't have inflation. We had a strong border. We had everything going good. And then Biden got in, and he's my opinion, the worst president in the history of our country. I think Jimmy Carter was a very happy man when he passed away 2 weeks ago. It's going to be a cabinet meeting, and I'll preside, unlike Biden, I'll preside over my own cabinet meeting.
Mr. President, how would you compare your cabinet in your second term to your cabinet that you had in your first term?
Well, I had some great people in my second term. I think this is deeper. I think it's better because it's deeper. I had some people that I didn't really like too much in my cabinet, but I didn't know Washington then. But I was a New York person. I knew New York intimately, but I had to rely on people. I had great people. Look, we got the biggest tax cuts in history. I rebuilt the military. I mean, we did so much. We did unbelievable. Even right to try. Somebody was saying today they were saved by right to try. We did right to try medically. We did transparency medically. That was a big thing, but Biden canceled that one. He didn't cancel right to try, which is interesting. He didn't cancel Space Force. He was going to cancel Space Force. Space Force is turning out to be invaluable. Amazing. We created Space Force. But think of it, we rebuilt our entire military, and now we're going to have to patch it up a little bit again because of what's happened. No, this was a grossly incompetent administration. The only thing they were good at was cheating in elections and the weaponization of government. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Nationwide is so much more than a great insurance company. They're one of America's largest financial services companies. Like how I'm more than just Peyton Manning. I'm also motivating Manning. When I say insurance, you say financial services. Insurance. Financial services. Insurance. Financial services. Now when I say nationwide, you say is both. Nationwide. Is both. Nationwide. Is both. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Investment Services Corporation, member FINRA, Columbus, Ohio.
President Trump getting ready to sign some of these executive orders. Let's listen into this here on Live Now from Fox.
Thank you very much. As you know, we passed the continuing resolution in the Republican. Actually, we want to keep things going and going properly. It was good for a lot of reasons. The Republicans want to keep government open. But in the Senate, we have 53 Republicans total, and we need 60 votes. That means we need Democrat votes. I want to thank Senator John Fetterman, who wants to keep the country open. We're doing so well as a country. We're doing probably better than ever before if you look at the stock market. Tremendous investment coming in, record investment coming in. Everything's going well, but the Democrats are unhappy about that because they don't want it to go well. I think they actually dislike our country greatly. So they want to shut down the country. They want to have open borders. They want to stop the fighting of crime, where we've been very successful at the D.C., as you know. Washington, D.C. is it's a hot place right now. Everyone's having dinners. They're going out all over. There's very little crime. They haven't seen numbers like this in many, many years. And other places, as you know, we're going into Memphis. We'll soon be going into Chicago. We've already had people out there and in there, and FBI's been there. We've brought the numbers down, but we're going to be bringing them down a whole lot. But I guess they want crime and we fight crime, and it's a pretty big difference. They want to have men playing women's sports. They want transgender for everybody. And if they don't get everything that they want, all these things that they want that are proven so badly, they want to close our government down. We're not going to let bad things happen to our country. We're not going to approve things that we shouldn't be approving. Just today, the House Democrats voted against condemning the political assassination of Charlie Kirk. Who could vote against that? Condemning all this, saying, please condemn the assassination of a human being. And they said, no, we're not going to do that. remember this, we had an election a very short time ago. Republicans won presidential. We won the popular vote by a lot. We won all 7 swing states. We won the Electoral College by a lot. We won most U.S. counties in a total landslide. So we won most, it's a very big statistic. We won the counties in a number that I don't believe has been hit before, 2,600 counties versus 525 counties for the Democrats. So the Democrats really should start respecting what takes place at the voter booth. In many cases, it's not a voter booth because they have mail-in voting, which is a very corrupt situation. But despite that, we won in a landslide. And we have to remember, when you win the election, elections have consequences. So we'll continue to talk to the Democrats, but I think you could very well end up with a closed country for a period of time. And we'll take care of the military, we'll take care of Social Security, we'll take care of the things that we have to take care of. A lot of the things that Democrats fight for, which in many cases aren't very good things, will not be able to be paid. So we'll watch and see how they do with that. They'll have to handle the constituents pretty carefully. So we're proud to announce that we won the House. We did fine in the Senate, but we need 60 votes. So we have 53 senators, and we need 60 votes. That means the Democrats have to vote in the Senate. And I don't think they will be voting. Now, what we're doing, we're really here today to talk about something else, which is the gold card, which is going to bring a lot of money into our country, which is going to reduce taxes and lots of other good things. But we'll save that for a little bit later. Why don't we do this first, and then we'll talk about the gold card, okay? Any questions, Jeff? It was great. I had a great call with President Xi, and as you know, he approved the TikTok deal, and we're in the process. We have some great investors, some of the biggest in the world, American investors, great people, and we look forward to getting that deal closed.
Is it fully approved that Chinese statements didn't necessarily?
Well, I think so. I mean, when you say fully approved, I don't know what that means. We have to get it signed. I guess there could be a formality. I found his word to be very good. President Xi and I had a long talk. We talked for almost 2 hours, and it started at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I think it was a very good talk. We talked about trade, we talked about war, we talked about a lot of things. We talked about Russia, Ukraine, obviously, and Gaza. We talked about a lot of subjects. It was a long call, it was a good call. We have a very good relationship. But the TikTok deal is well on its way, as you know, and the investors are getting ready. And I think China wanted to see it stay open too. They wanted to see it, and I can tell you the young people in our country wanted to see it stay open very badly because, and if you take a look at my numbers, no Republican has ever done anything like we did. We got massive numbers of youth vote, and by the way, helped very much by Charlie Kirk. So Charlie was very much in favor of TikTok. He liked TikTok, and he said, you know, you should use it. And other people said that too, and I used it, and I don't know, I think I set records. I looked at numbers that are phenomenal. We'll pass them out to you. And it had probably a pretty big effect on the election because we won the election by a lot. So we are in a situation where in a little while, meaning a number of days, we'll probably, I don't know if you can make a deal with these people. I think these people are crazy. You know, again, anybody wants open borders and don't want to fight, they don't want to fight crime. They hate to fight crime. And in Chicago, last weekend you had 11 people killed, murdered, and you had 28 shot. And those numbers have been pretty consistent all throughout that period of time, whether it was 4 people, 12 people killed, murdered. And they don't want to spend money to fight crime. And it's not even much money, relatively speaking, it's very little. But we're going there anyway, it doesn't make any difference. We're going to Chicago, we're going to Memphis next. And we're going to clean up the crime in the cities because we have to do that, okay?
With this deal today, are you confident that the CCP won't be exerting control
Yeah,
over
we're
TikTok?
gonna have a very tight control. And look, it's an amazing thing that's been created. There's tremendous value with TikTok. And I'm a little prejudiced because I frankly did so well on it. You know, it got me numbers that nobody's ever even heard of before. So a lot of people want it. The young people of this country want it badly. The parents of those young people want it badly. And so we were able to work out a deal with China. And it's a very good deal for us. I hope it's a good deal for them.
Would you be confident in a deal, or would you accept a deal where China controls the algorithm of TikTok?
Well, it's all being worked out. We're going to have very good control. We have these are American investors, all of them, and they all love our country. They're all very well-known people, very famous people, actually, financially, and they'll have control of it.
Mr. President,
I want to thank President Xi because he was a gentleman, and we've just had a good relationship, and we wanted a lot of people in this country wanted to be open. If it weren't open, maybe, I don't know, I think we won by so much it wouldn't have mattered, but we got a lot of votes. We got a lot of Republican votes from very young people. You go ahead, Jeff.
Sir, Russian jets entered Estonia's airspace today for 12 minutes. Do you see that as a threat to NATO?
Well, I'm going to have to look at it. They're going to be briefing me in a short while, so I'll let you know about it tonight or tomorrow.
What's your take in general?
Well, I don't love it. I don't like when that happens. It could be big trouble. But I'll let you know later. They're going to brief me in about an hour.
And a follow-up with Charlie Kirk, there's been a lot of talk about free speech this week. Do you see a difference between cancel culture and consequence culture?
I mean, your question's a little trick question. I'm a very strong person for free speech. At the same time, when you have networks where I won an election, like in counties, I guess it's 2,600 to 525. That's called a landslide times 2. When you have that level of popularity or voter support, as I did in the last election, and yet 97 and 94%, different numbers. You see different numbers with different stats, but 97, 94, 95, 96% of the people are against me in the sense of the newscasts are against me. The stories are they said 97% bad. So they gave me 97. They'll take a great story and they'll make it bad. See, I think that's really illegal, personally. You can't have a free airwaves. You're getting free airwaves from the United States government, and you can't have that and say, and somebody that just won an election, and I had to go through this during the election. I think it's a miracle that I can win. When 97% of the stories on the networks are bad, or whatever it may be, whether it's 89, it doesn't matter. It's a tremendous number. You know it, you report it all the time, and it changes. But when you have that kind of a negative reporting, fake negative reporting, when they take a great story and they make it into a bad story constantly, that's what they do. Look, 60 Minutes took Kamala's answer and they threw it out and they gave her a different answer so that she sounded competent. When things like that happen, George Slopadopoulos from your network, right? George Slopadopoulos had to pay $16 million to me because of what he said. And that's ABC. You had to pay more than that. Your network had to pay more than that. So I think it's very sad. But I think that reporting has to be at least accurate to an extent. Again, when somebody is given 97% of the stories are bad about a person, that's no longer free speech, that's no longer, that's just cheating. And they cheat. And they become really members of the Democrat National Committee. That's what they are, the networks, in my opinion. They're just offshoots of the Democrat National Committee.
Under Gavin Newsom, taxes, crime, and homelessness skyrocketed. Now he wants to be president, wasting nearly $300 million tax dollars on Prop 50 to rig elections. Stop Newsom's power grab. Vote no on 50.
The Thanksgiving turkey sub is back with rich, buttery stuffing, premium carved turkey, and cranberry sauce. And if that doesn't sound good to you, I'm not sure we could ever be friends. Take it from a real firefighter. You gotta try this sub.
Harbor Freight tools keep getting better with time. Better performance, better durability, better value. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight. This weekend, get a free 5-gallon bucket. You spend $29.99 in store.
President, thank you. Liam Costro for Zero Hedge. People are still anticipating who your pick for National Security Advisor will be. They're worried Marco Rubio's a little overworked, and one of the reported frontrunners is Michael Anton from the State Department. He's just authored the National Security Strategy. Also in the mix is Mike Flynn and Steve Witkoff. Can you give us an indication of who?
We're all good. We'll make a decision soon. Okay. But we're doing very well. You know, I settled 7 wars, more than that, I think. But actually, we settled 7 wars. I have working on Gaza, it's a tough one, but we'll get it done somehow. And we're also working with Russia and Ukraine, and they hate each other so much you wouldn't believe it. President Putin and President Zelensky, they hate each other to a level that you wouldn't believe. So I'm having a little bit of a problem with that.
And are you considering Stephen Moran for Fed chair?
I hadn't thought of it too much. He's doing a great job. Just got approved. His vote was a very good one. The Fed should have done more. You know, too late. Powell is terrible. It's terrible chair. I think it's just terrible. But despite that, we're powering through it. We have another record stock market today. We're very, very high levels, and we're at the highest levels. So we're setting records many, many days during my administration. We set records, and we'll see what happens with 50,000. 50,000 is a pretty big number. Never come close. And we're not so far away from it. So that's because they see what's happening. Not so much what's happening exactly right now, but they see all the plants that are being built. They see the kind of investment that's going to be made. When you take $17 trillion, so Biden had 250 billion, okay? Or putting a simpler way, they had much less than $1 trillion, but they had less than $1 trillion for 4 years. I have 17 trillion for 8 months. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And I think they're looking at that and they're saying when those plants open, right now they're being built, a lot of them, and some are starting over the next year. It takes a while, but we're getting fast permits. And when those plants get built, I don't think there'll be anything like what we're going to experience yet.
Mr. President, if I can, on the subject of free speech, Ted Cruz compared Brendan Carr to a mob boss, the way he's threatening television stations and saying it's absolutely dangerous for the government to determine which speech is okay and which is not. What's your reaction to Ted Cruz?
I think Brendan Carr is an incredible American patriot with courage. You know, it used to be, I remember in the old days that networks would have to get licensed, relicensed, and it was always a big deal. You know, they had to show honesty and integrity. When you have a network, again, I'll use the same numbers, whether it's 90 or 94 or 97, all different numbers, but when you have networks that give somebody 97% bad publicity or 94% bad publicity, I think that's dishonesty. And you know they're getting free airwaves, right? You know that, right? You get them for nothing. These airwaves, they make millions and millions of dollars. The news makes millions of dollars. ABC, your network. I mean, your network wrote very badly about me, and they had to pay me $16 million.
So do you think he wasn't right, or that Brendan Carr has a right to take away the licenses?
Thank you. I think Brendan Carr is a courageous person. I think Brendan Carr doesn't like to see the airwaves be used illegally and incorrectly and purposely horribly. Doesn't like to see a person that won the election in a landslide get 97% bad publicity before the election. I mean, it's amazing that I won the election with that, but here's what happened. The people have given your networks no credibility. They don't give them any credibility, John. If they did, they wouldn't vote for me. They wouldn't have voted for me. When you look at, I mean, you could also say the liberal media, the liberal left, when you look at these stories and papers, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about, I assume you're talking mostly about the networks, but they have a licensing procedure, and you can read it as well. They have to show honesty and integrity. And when they take a good, well, I think the people decide, that's why I'm president. when they take a,
So that means you
when they
decide
take a
whether-
great success, like you often do, and you make it into like it's a loser, or you put a negative spin on it, I don't think that's right. So I think Brendan Carr is a great American patriot, so I disagree with Ted Cruz on that.
What do you need?
Mr. President.
UN next week, you're going to the UN?
I'll be at the UN, I'll be making a speech, yes.
And are you meeting any other world leaders?
Many of them.
Anything
Who are
else?
you meeting, Mr. President?
Well, I mean,
Syria,
they're being set
Zelensky.
up.
What is your goal from attending that meeting? What do you hope the other?
World peace. Nobody's done a better job than I've done on world peace. Nobody's settled so many wars as I have. You know, I've been here probably a little bit more than 8 months, and I've settled 7, and that doesn't include the destruction of a vast potential nuclear disaster in Iran, which we wiped out totally. As I say, obliterated. We obliterated it. It's been turned around with this beautiful plane right here. Just ordered some more of them, by the way. The B-2 bomber. Just ordered some more. The more updated version. Not that we needed that. We just need the plane because it was so flawless. These pilots flew 37 hours flawlessly. Not an engine problem. Not a screw. Not a bolt came loose. It was an amazing. Compare that to many years ago, Jimmy Carter, same country, with the helicopters and the problems and the prisoners and the hostages. What a mess. You know, these planes flew 37 hours without a stop. They fueled up. We had 52 tankers fueling the planes along the way. It was an incredible, and every single bomb had its mark. And then we fired 30 of them from a submarine. What a job that was. And I don't even include that. But that stopped a war. That stopped maybe a catastrophic war.
Mr. President.
So, you know, so I think that nobody has ever done anywhere near that. Now, on top of that, we're working very hard to get Russia, Ukraine settled. We'll see what's going to happen there. I hope we're going to get it done. President Xi and I spoke to him about it, and I believe that he really would like to see it done also, and I think he's going to work with us to help.
What was your message?
On the UN.
What was your message to President Xi on the war in Ukraine? What do you ask him?
Well, it's the same as his message to me. He would like to see it done. He would like to see it. I believe he would like to see it ended. Yes, I do believe.
These two wars that you were talking about, Gaza and Ukraine, are escalating at the same time. You're going to take the stage in the UN, back at the stage after these years. Do you plan to setting any kind of red lines for these two countries? And you said before, you were frustrated with Putin. Are you also
We
frustrated
have
with
a long
Netanyahu?
time to go before I get up and speak at the UN, because every day is a long time when it comes to Gaza, when it comes to Israel and the Middle East. So we have a long time to go, but you know a lot of my opinions, and remember this, you can't forget October 7th either. People are forgetting October 7th. They forget it too quickly. That was one of the worst days in world history. It was the most evil attack that I think you could really say babies were involved, little babies were involved, and having their heads chopped off and all of the things that took place. You can't forget that. I don't forget that. A lot of people do, but I don't yet.
Mr. President.
What goes into retaking Bagram? Does that require boots on the ground?
We'll see what happens with Bagram. We're talking to Afghanistan. It should have never been given up. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country. There's no reason to give it up. I was leaving Afghanistan. I was leaving. I was the one that got it down to 5,000 soldiers, but we were going to keep Bagram, the air base. I said it yesterday. We had an incredible trip, as you know, to UK, and I said it during the press conference. It's one of the most powerful runways ever built in terms of weight, length, and load, what it can take. And we just gave it up for nothing. We gave it up for nothing. There was no reason to give it up. We weren't going to leave Bagram. And Joe Biden didn't know what he was doing. We had a man that didn't know what he was doing. We had a man, by the way, that didn't approve. If you take a look at what's happening in Congress, we had a man that signed almost everything with an auto pen. And he didn't tell the people from the auto pen, whoever was using it. The one man that used it predominantly said that Biden only spoke to him twice, and it was only about the weather. Like it was about nothing. So those pardons that he gave are illegal. He gave illegal pardons. And that includes the congressman that destroyed and deleted all the information from J6. They deleted everything because it turned out that they were wrong. It turned out that I offered 10,000 National Guard or soldiers, whatever they wanted, and you wouldn't have had a problem. And they turned it down. Nancy Pelosi turned it down, and the mayor of Washington, D.C. turned it down. They deleted everything, and they destroyed it, illegally destroyed it. And Biden gave them a pardon. And Biden gave a lot of other people pardons that, frankly, would be in jail if it wasn't for those pardons. But those pardons now are illegal, according to just about everyone.
What was your
On Letitia James, are you disappointed that the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia has not prosecuted Letitia James? Do you intend to fire him?
Well, we're going to see what happens. I am not following it very closely. It looks to me like she's very guilty of something, but I really don't know. I know that the U.S. Attorney from the Eastern District, or from that district in Virginia, that he was approved by 2 Democrat senators who, in my opinion, are among the worst. And when I learned that 2 senators, Democrats, because as you know, it's very hard with the blue slip, it's very hard for a Republican to get somebody approved if you have 1 senator that's a Democrat because of an old custom. It's not a law, it's a custom. It's a ridiculous custom. But if you have a Democrat senator, you have to get that senator approved. Well, in this case, we had 2. When I saw that he got 2 senators, 2 gentlemen that are bad news as far as I'm concerned, when I saw that he got approved by those 2 men, I said, pull it, because he can't be any good.
So you want him fired, you want him out?
Yeah, I want him out, yeah. When I learned that he was blue slipped through by 2 Democrat senators in Virginia, people that would never vote for it, the people that haven't voted for us for probably years, okay, probably years. 2, in my opinion, 2 bad guys. You know, they are Warner and Kane. 2 bad guys, bad senators too. They do a terrible job for the people of Virginia. But when I saw that he got approved by these 2 terrible people that haven't voted, they just don't vote, no matter what it is. We could give them the greatest deal ever, and they still wouldn't vote. And they voted for this guy. And I have other people, judges, and I have U.S. attorneys from other states where I have the same situation, and they can't get approved. So when I learned that they voted for him, I said, I don't really want him. Okay.
Mr. President, have you seen the polling, the Gallup poll out of Ukraine that shows 23%, less than a quarter of Ukrainians actually support continuing the war against Putin? We saw the European leaders come here and try to say the world is united for the war effort, but Ukrainians have war fatigue themselves. Have you seen the polling and your thoughts on it?
I don't blame them. It's a war that never should have started. It's a war that never would have happened. If I were president, that war never would have happened. Ever. That's a disgrace that that war happened. And they're losing anywhere from 5,000 to 8,000 people a week on that war, which is the worst since the Second World War. That's a war that should have never happened.
And if you consider
would have never happened. And it didn't happen for 4 years. When I was here, it didn't happen. Go ahead.
Have you considered cutting funding, even promises made by the Biden administration?
Well, we're not spending any money on the war. You know, we're being paid for everything we said. Unlike Biden, he gave them $350 billion. And it's just, it was shocking. We're not spending any money on the war. The war is being funded by NATO. NATO is buying our equipment. In fact, I don't want to make money on that war. I don't want to, but we are actually making money on that war because they're buying our equipment, as you know. But we, NATO, as you know, it's very important, is funding the entire thing. They're paying for the missiles, for the tanks. They're paying for anything that's sent over there. It goes to NATO, and then NATO does what they want with it. In this case, I guess they give it to Ukraine. It's a very sad war. It's a war that never should have happened.
Life doesn't wait, and neither should you. Aleve can help you deal with pain less throughout your day. Whether it's a long day on your feet, a demanding workout, or everyday aches and pains, you need relief that can keep up when pain persists. Aleve is here for you with longer-lasting body pain relief compared to leading OTC branded pain relievers. With just 1 pill, Aleve lasts up to 12 hours. Don't let those aches hold you back from doing what's important to you. Use as directed.
Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President,
could you tell me, is the U.S. government going to take a board seat in the company, and will the U.S. government get a board seat within the company?
Well, we're going to announce it. Are you talking about TikTok? Yeah, we're going to announce it. But it's a great deal for our country. It's a great deal for all of the young people in the country that wanted it, and people generally. I was happy with it. Look, I wasn't a fan of TikTok, and then I got to use it, and I became a fan, and it helped me win the election in a landslide. So I think that it's a deal that's going to be great. And it's also controlled by very powerful and very substantial American people. All American, by the way, all American people.
Mr. President, question from Newsmax. Last year, before you took office, there was an estimated 6.8 million men not actively seeking work of prime working age. So if you and Secretary Lutnick could talk about the efforts your administration is taking to help our American gentlemen get back to work.
Yeah, well, what we're doing is they're building plants all over the United States, and frankly, because of tariffs, we're taking in trillions of dollars. And countries that have ripped us off for years, and everyone knows this, countries that have ripped us off for years, like nobody's ever been ripped off before, they're now having to pay up. They're paying a lot of money to America, and we're reducing taxes with that money, and we're doing things that we were never able to do before. So it's you're gonna have a lot of jobs. The jobs are being created right now, and the tariffs are protecting our country. And we didn't use, tariffs were used against us, but we didn't use them against others. But we're really better at it than anybody else, and we will have taken in trillions of dollars. Nobody's ever seen anything. Even people that were against the tariffs, now they see the way they're working. And by the way, with no inflation, with no problem, we're just building up cash, and we're using that cash to reduce taxes, reduce debt, and other things. It's a great thing to watch. And your honest reporters are saying they've never seen anything like what's happening. Our country's of tariffs. If we didn't have it, if I didn't get elected, this country it was a dead country. Look, we were a dead country a year ago, and now we're the most successful, most vibrant country anywhere in the world.
Healthcare, you can start.
Good to see you. You're good on television.
Thank you, sir. I tried. Tonight, in a few minutes, Steve Bannon will appear on my show.
Good.
He floats the idea that you should dual hat Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent, not only as Treasury Secretary, but as interim Fed chair. Would you be willing to entertain that?
In other words, you like Scott.
Yes, sir, very much.
So do I. And I like Steve, too.
Would you like to see that, him dual
Well,
hat?
that's been interesting. Dual hat. We could save a little bit on salary. I think I could maybe make a deal where we just give him one salary. I have a couple of them.
I don't think you need.
I have Marco. No, I don't think so. And we have Marco who's got about 3 positions, right? He's doing great also. No, I don't think that's going to be necessary. Actually, I went to Scott and I talked to him about that position, and he loves what he's doing right now. So, he's not in the mix because he loves being Secretary of the Treasury.
Follow-up. Today is the first day of early voting in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Are you planning on campaigning for Winsome Sears, John Reed, or Jason Mayaris?
Well, I'm going to have to look at some of them. As you know, it's sort of a semi-local election. I've been watching it. I've been seeing the ads.
I would appreciate it as a Virginia voter.
Who do you like of the group? Who do you like?
The whole ticket, sir.
All of them? You like them? All right,
Yes,
well, I'll take a very strong look.
Appreciate that.
For you, I'm going to look.
Secretary Kennedy's panel on vaccine changed its broad recommendations on COVID-19 vaccines today. Are you comfortable with that change, or would you like to see Americans take the vaccines that were developed under your tenure?
Well, the vaccines, according to a lot of people, and if you look at yours, have had a tremendous, Operation Warp Speed. It was, just according to just about everybody, was one of the greatest things that any president has ever done in this country. So we're very proud of it. I'm very proud of it. I'm also very proud of Regeneron and some of the things that came out of, all of the labs and all of the research that we've done. So I don't know exactly what the final determination is, but I had the vaccine. I was very happy with it. Here I am. Right?
Have you had it again?
Bobby Kennedy seems to be undoing what you did with Operation Warp
I put it
Speed.
in there because I want to have opposite views. That's okay. I think we're going to have something very, very big coming up soon on autism. Autism is totally out of control. And one of the most important things that, in my opinion, I had to do is to see what's going on with autism. And we're going to have a news conference early next week on autism. And I think you're going to see some things that are amazing that we've learned that somebody else wouldn't have learned. It's out of control, autism, out of control. And I think we maybe have the reason why.
But is Bobby Kennedy going too far in unwinding the vaccines?
He's saying for older people. Yeah, he's saying for older people. A lot of people agree with that. And but I can tell you this: Operation Warp Speed, one of the greatest things a president has ever done for this country. And you can say the world, because when we came up with that vaccine, the whole world opened up. But I put Bobby there as somebody that will go either way. And I want the facts, but I also look at facts from Pfizer, where they spent a lot of money, and the other drug companies, they spent a lot of money on finding out the results after the fact. And the results were amazingly good.
I'm wondering if you've seen the video put out by former Israeli hostages addressed to you. One is a widow of one that died, and these are people who were freed thanks to you. But they're actually encouraging you to force a ceasefire, force Netanyahu to a ceasefire, and they didn't address it to him because they think you're the one who might actually listen to them and get it done. They're worried that the hostages who are still there are more at risk if the war continues. Your thoughts on it?
They might be. They also, maybe they'll be freed because of that. You know, you never know how it's going to look. War, I was saying, is war, a lot of strange things happen. A lot of results take place that you would never think were going to happen. As you know, I was able to get most of the hostages out. We're down to 20, and we have 32 dead people. You know that. We have 32, maybe more, 38, but between 32 and 38 people that were dead, mostly young people. And I've dealt with some of the parents. And we got all our Americans out, as you know, but you know we're talking about mostly Israelis. But I dealt with parents, I spoke to parents, and they want the body of their son, I believe in almost all cases sons, but they want the body of their cherished, beautiful son. They want the body back as much as though he were alive. It's so sad to see. But I've dealt with the mothers and fathers. Please, sir, please, the body of my son, they know he's dead. And they just want him back. They want him back as much as though he's alive. I mean, it's very terrible. And you know, we have very close to 40 bodies that are included in the whole thing. But we have 20, probably 20 that are living. It might be a little bit less because a couple of things. Look, young people don't die, okay? They just don't die. And they can take a lot, but a lot of people died in these horrible tunnels. They're mostly in the tunnels. I know a lot about it. I got them out. But I always said the last 20, when you get down to the last 10 or 20, it's going to be very tough. It's a nasty situation. You can't forget October 7th, but it's a nasty situation, terrible.
Mr. President, on Gaza, the UN concluded this week that Israel committed genocide in Gaza. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I haven't seen that. I'm looking at it, but did anybody commit genocide on October 7th? What do you think about that? That was genocide at the highest level. That was murder, genocide, you can call it whatever you want. But little babies were chopped in half. Arms were cut off people, heads were cut off people. It's genocide. That's genocide also, I guess. Right?
What do you think?
Fee from that deal, what is that fee
Well,
going to be to
it hasn't been fully negotiated, but we'll get something from the standpoint that we worked hard, we put up a lot, we spent a lot of money on letting this come and letting this, you know, it's a very, very big deal. It's a very powerful deal. And the United States really, I see it. I mean, people were saying, save TikTok, save TikTok. So many people. It's a big thing. And, you know, China can be very proud that they were able to get that started. And so I very much appreciate President Xi's working with us on that. Very much.
What comes
comes next after designating Antifa a
Well,
terrorist
there are others that
organization?
we're going to designate too, but we're going to look at the people that funded Antifa, see who they are, where they came from, and why they did. Have you seen Portland at all? You can take a look at what's happening in Portland. It's, I mean, it has been going on for years. It's just people out of control, crazy. We're going to stop that very soon. We have to get rid of a couple of other problems first. We're going to get rid of the problems in Memphis where you can't even walk a block without getting shot. We're going to get rid of the problems in Chicago. Chicago's a great city. We have to save it. We have to save it. I told you I had the head of the Union Pacific Railroad in my office, and I said, so what do you think? You go to every city, you have railroads in every, you are the biggest railroad, beautiful railroad, he's a great guy. I said, what do you think? He said, sir, save Chicago, don't let it go down, save it. The way he said it was so meaningful to me. It was so it was like terrible. In a way, it was terrible. Save Chicago. You know, who would ever think that we'd be sitting here talking about saving Chicago? Chicago's a great city. They have a terrible mayor. Terrible. He's at like 5% approval rating. He's an incompetent person. They have an incompetent governor, in my opinion. He's incompetent. 11 people get shot, and he says crime isn't a good shot. I mean, they're losing 4, 5, 6 people a week getting killed by bullets, by knives. And then he says how wonderful it is, Chicago. So, well, it might be wonderful for him. I think they're afraid. Look, he's not a stupid guy. I really believe they're afraid to say, politically, I guess, from an ideology standpoint, from a democratic standpoint, he is afraid to say the fact that they have a very unsafe, very dangerous city. He should say, I'm going to call President Donald Trump and I'm going to ask him to send in the troops, to send in the National Guard and clean this hellhole up. Because Chicago can be a great city again. I'll tell you what, Washington, D.C. is a great place again. It's booming, and the restaurants are booming. And 6 months ago, 7 months ago, nobody could go outside. And even just walking around the White House, people here are thanking me for what I've done. They're thanking me, they're saying thank you. I almost know what they mean, because they can walk to work. And even when they took Uber and they took other forms of transportation, they felt unsafe because the car was hijacked while they're in there. They take a car and it's being hijacked as they get into the car. And they did that for safety. And now we have a safe place. You know, we've taken 1,500 people out of career criminals have been taken out of Washington, D.C. And we weren't very nice about it.
Do you know?
I did discuss it, and I don't want to make a comment on it, but Union Pacific is a great railroad, and we want to add a railroad that had a mistake at a place very close to my heart. You know, a lot of people say that that was a place where I got off to a very good start. It was a rough thing that happened. Well, they're trying to buy that railroad that had the problem, and it sounds good to me, to be honest with you. It sounds good to me. I'm a very big fan of the head of the railroad, the head of the Union Pacific. He started as a very low on the totem pole, started his job very low and became the chairman of the company over a 45-year period. But I asked him about different cities. He said, St. Louis is tough. We talk, you know, he sort of stops at many of them. New Orleans. We have to save New Orleans.
Mr. President, when are you going to get
We're going to be going into New York too.
Mr. President.
And we're going to be going in quiet. You're really obnoxious.
I'm not obnoxious, but I'm trying to ask you, what about your plans
You are
for
really
Memphis?
obnoxious.
I'm not obnoxious, but I am asking, what are your
Okay.
plans for Memphis? Many people
I'm not going to talk to you until I call on you.
What are your plans
So,
for Memphis?
who else? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to settle this free speech question, because you've said that you restored free speech in America.
Yeah.
Is that free speech including for people who are harshly critical of you, for your political opponents, for people who say things you don't
I've
like?
become immune to
Treat
it.
you unfairly?
I've become immune to it. There's never been a person that's had more unfair publicity than me, and that's why your network paid me $15 million, or $16 million, I believe, to be exact, George Slopadopoulos. And that's why CBS paid me a lot of money, too. And that's why I sued the New York Times 2 days ago for a lot of money. Because I'm winning. I mean, I'm winning the cases. And the reason I'm winning is because you're guilty, John. You're guilty. ABC is a terrible network, a very unfair network, and you should be ashamed of yourself. NBC is equally bad. I don't know who's worse. I think they're equally bad. And, you know, for you to stand there and act so innocent and ask me a question like that. But look, you paid a big price because you were dishonest, John. The reason I won that lawsuit was because you were dishonest. You were proven to be dishonest. And so you can't sit back and just say, oh, well, what do you think? You know, like you're some wonderful person. You're not a wonderful person. Frankly, you're a terrible reporter. You know it, and so do I. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about something that's going to reduce our taxes greatly. That's going to hopefully bring some great people into our country. You know, as you know, right now nobody's coming in because we've succeeded in closing. We've closed the border very successfully. I think you will agree. We had nobody come in for the last few months. I mean, it was actually said zero. Even I can't believe zero, but the numbers are put out by very impartial people or people that have a tendency to be on the left. And they actually said for the last 3 months, nobody came in. We have a very strong border. It's a closed border. People are coming into our country, but they're coming in legally. It's a beautiful thing to watch. But we are doing something where rather than coming into the border, 25 million people came into our country during Biden. One of the saddest things, the worst thing, look, he was horrible in inflation. He was horrible in just about everything you could be. I don't think he was good on, he wasn't even fair on anything. It was a horrible administration. He was the worst president in the history of our country. And we have to mop it up. The hardest thing that we have to do is to get rid of the criminals that he allowed into our country from prisons, from mental institutions, gang members, drug dealers. And we're getting them out, and we're getting them out fast, and we're making America safe again. Great again, but we're making America safe again. And it's an honor to do it. But this is something, this is an unforced error. What they've done is, this is just an unforced error. So I'm going to ask Howard to speak. Howard's done a fantastic job, as you know, Secretary of Commerce. And I'm going to ask Howard and Will, could you just give a quick description of what we're doing and what we're signing, etc.? And
yes, sir.
I will do that. So
we have 2 items for your attention today, sir. A major focus of your administration has been shifting the conversation and shifting the policy dynamics around the issue of immigration, closing the border, preventing illegal immigration, but also, as is the case with the executive order in front of you, opening new pathways for truly extraordinary people to come contribute to America instead of taking away from it. So this executive order is entitled the Gold Card. It will set up a new pathway, a new visa pathway for foreigners of extraordinary ability who are committed to supporting the United States for a payment of $1 million to the U.S. Treasury, or if a corporation is sponsoring them, $2 million by that corporation, and that will give them access to expedited visa treatment as part of this new Gold Card program.
And one of the biggest problems we have is that people, they go to the best schools and they do great and they get great marks, and then they're thrown out of the country. You're not allowed to stay. This way, a corporation will be able, sort of like a signing bonus in baseball or football, a corporation will be able to get them to stay in the country. And I think it's going to be tremendously successful. Howard, would you say a few words about that?
Sure. So historically, the employment-based green card program let in 281,000 people a year. And those people, on average, earned $66,000 a year on average, and they were 5 times more likely to go on assistance programs of the government. So we were taking in the bottom quartile, below the average American. It was illogical. The only country in the world that was taking in the bottom quartile. So what we are doing now is we are going to stop doing that. We're going to only take extraordinary people. at the very top. Instead of people trying to take the jobs from Americans, they're going to create businesses and create jobs for Americans. And this program will raise more than $100 billion for the Treasury of the United States of America.
Which we'll use for cutting taxes and paying down debt. We think it's going to be very successful. Essentially, we're having people come in, people that in many cases, I guess, are very successful or whatever, and they're coming in, they're going to spend a lot of money to come in, they're going to pay as opposed to walking over the borders, and they may come from jails, prisons, and everything else. These people don't. They're very productive people. And they're going to pay $1 million. The corporation's going to pay $2 million. And it's going to raise billions of dollars, billions and billions of dollars, which is going to go to reduce taxes, pay off debt, and other good things. So I think it's going to be very successful.
Mr. President,
What?
the big tax, are the big tax on board with this decision? Because
I wish you'd speak more clearly, I really do. Give it to me again.
Are the big tax, the CEOs on board with this decision?
Big tax?
Big tax.
Big tech, yeah, it's big tech, it's every company, it's big tech, it's big everything, okay? It's a company, I said, it's not a tech company, it's tech companies and everything else. It's companies having a hard time getting people to be able to stay in the country. It's very difficult. Now, if you want to walk through the border, you can have no problem. People say, well, the best way to come in is walk right through the border, but they can't do that anymore because under our administration, the border is totally closed. You can only come in, you can come in legally, and that's the way it's been, and that's the way it should be. And we're taking a lot of people out of the country that are here from prisons, from jails, from mental institutions, and even insane asylums, people that are crazy. We're taking them out of the country, we're getting them out of the country, because you can't have a country like that. And I tell you, Christie and Tom Holman and all of the people that have worked so hard on this, they've done an unbelievable job. And I think we're getting great marks for it. People feel safe. Washington, D.C. is just the beginning. We brought the numbers down in Chicago a little bit by having the FBI in there for the last 5 months. We brought the numbers down in Memphis a little bit, but now we're going for the big one. Now we're going to go for the big one. But we set ourselves up very well in Chicago, Memphis, New Orleans a little bit, going in early, just to see what was happening. We study it. We're studying this. It's sort of like war. I mean, I hate to tell you, it's like war. Some of these people are really bad. They're really, really sick people. They're dangerous people. They're killers. They're murderers, drug dealers, and can't have it. You can't have a country like that. It's so beautiful to see at Washington, D.C. that people are walking down the middle of the street and they're going to restaurants, and you are too. And half of you were mugged. I mean, I don't know if she's here now. I don't see her, but some people were badly mugged that were reporters. 2 of the people right standing in the back of the room were mugged, and they're not going to have that anymore. And if you look at the crime stats in Washington, D.C., you have a safe place again. They were afraid to go to a restaurant because the restaurant would be held up while they're having dinner. And so they'd be mugged going there, and assuming they escaped the mugging, they go to the restaurant and then they're held up. This is how bad it's been.
To follow up on the visa question, I think this may be the next thing that you're signing, but for the H-1B visa action that you're doing
It's going to
today,
be next. We'll talk about that.
you're very close to the technology CEOs. Are they concerned about that?
I think they're going to be very happy. Everyone's going to be happy. And we're going to be able to keep people in our country that are going to be very productive people. And in many cases, these companies are going to pay a lot of money for that. And they're very happy about it. Okay, we'll talk about that next, Sarah. Okay. My friend, why don't you keep that, okay?
Thank you.
That's such a good job. Okay? It's phase 1. John, are you happy? Rich? Okay, let's go.
Thank you, Mr. President. One of the most abused visa systems in our current immigration system has been the H-1B non-immigrant visa program. This is supposed to allow highly skilled laborers who work in fields that Americans don't work in to come into the United States of America. What this proclamation will do is raise the fee that companies pay to sponsor H-1B applicants to $100,000. This will ensure that the people they're bringing in are actually very highly skilled and that they're not replaceable by American workers. So it'll protect American workers, but ensure that companies have a pathway to hire truly extraordinary people and bring them to the United States
We
to
need
work.
workers. We need workers. We need great workers. And this pretty much ensures that that's what's going to happen. I think, Sean, do you agree with that?
Well, they're $100,000 per year. So the whole idea is no more will these big tech companies or other big companies train foreign workers. They have to pay the government $100,000, then they have to pay the employee. So it's just not economic. If you're going to train somebody, you're going to train one of the recent graduates from one of the great universities across our land. Train Americans, stop bringing in people to take our jobs. That's the policy here, $100,000 a year for H-1B visas, and all of the big companies are on board. We've spoken to them about the gold card.
They love it. They love it. They really love it. They need it. Go ahead, Sean.
Mr. President, it seems like there's two categories of visa programs. The H-1B, that a lot of people believe take American jobs, and then the gold card and programs like EB-5 that add value and jobs to America. Is that sort of how you look at the visa program?
Well, ideally, look, if somebody's got the people, they're not going to want to spend $100,000 as an example in the second category. So it's not taking jobs. And we need certain jobs. We need certain skilled jobs that we don't have. But they won't be taking jobs because, ideally, the people are going to want to, they're not going to have.
Investing in America and creating jobs. So that's what I'm asking.
They're really investing.
It seems like you have two categories. One, Secretary-elect, the gold card and EB-5 that create jobs, add investment, and then there's other ones that seem to take, whether it's a J1 and O or an H-1B that take U.S. jobs.
Yeah, that's pretty correct. I would say that's a correct assessment. But the main thing is we're going to have great people coming in, and they're going to be paying. I mean, it's wonderful to say, oh, gee, we took in 25 million people that, look, many criminals, jails were open from Venezuela, from many other countries, and they were let out of jail and poured into our country, our poor country, how it suffered with this stupid president that we had and the stupid people that surrounded him right around his desk, these liberal, crazy people that have destroyed, they could have destroyed. If we didn't win this election, our country would have been dead. Our country was dead. Think of it, and I've said this, the King of Saudi Arabia said, your country was dead 1 year. They thought it was dead. This country couldn't have survived another year of those people running it. And now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. Think of that. And this is going to help. And we're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. This will be taken in, the gold card will be taken in hundreds of billions of dollars. And companies will be able to keep some people that they need. They need people of expertise, great expertise. And I think it's going to be a fantastic thing. And we're going to take that money and we're going to reduce taxes. We're going to reduce debt. We have a very, very strong country. We assuming everything works out great with the lawsuit that we have a lawsuit that's inspired by foreign countries that ripped us off for 25 years. But assuming we win that, we hopefully win it in the Supreme Court of the United States. We have a country that no stopping us. We're rich, we'll be rich, we can take care of poor people, we can take care of our military, we can take care of everything. We can take care of beyond the country, we can help take care of the world. That we don't just be the same struggle that we've had for years where other countries charged us tariffs and they ripped us off. Our country has been ripped off more than any country in the history of the world. And now we're doing what we have to do. We're taking in billions and billions of dollars at levels that nobody has ever seen, trillions of dollars. And we're using it to reduce debt, we're using it to reduce taxes. The great big beautiful bill is a big tax reduction. It's being paid for by the tariffs, and people are paying a lot less money in taxes. They're being, think of it, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. It's an unbelievable phenomenon. It really is. It's the golden age. We're making it the golden age. Without the tariffs, it would be impossible. And China, for years, charged us tariffs, and they continue to do it, and so do other countries. Most countries, they charge us. They were ripping. Look, The European Union, as you know, I get along very well with them, but they ripped us off so badly. Nobody's ever seen anything now. The European Union is paying us $950 billion, and they're paying us $750 billion to buy our energy, and they're okay with it. They signed the agreement. You know, it's not like anybody forced them to do it. They're okay with it. Tariffs are making our country very rich again, and we'll be able to take care of our debt. We'll be able to take care of our taxes, lower taxes. We'll be able to take care of Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. We're going to be a rich country again. Without tariffs, we'd be in very big trouble.
President, you still want Iran to pay 100% tariffs on China?
H-1Bs are sometimes used by people already in the country legally, on other visas or student visas. Does this apply to them more to renewals, or does it only apply to people applying for the first time from abroad?
Renewals, first times, the company needs to decide, do they want, is that person valuable enough to have $100,000 a year payment to the government, or they should head home and they should go hire an American. The whole idea, it's annual, and it's for total, it can be a total of 6 years. So $100,000 a year, so either the person is very valuable to the company and America, or they're going to depart and the company's going to hire an American, and that's the point of immigration. Hire Americans and make sure the people coming in are the top people. Stop the nonsense of letting people just come into this country on these visas that were given away for free. President is crystal clear, valuable people only for America. Stop the nonsense.
And remember, the country,
to America.
The country would rather not have to pay $100,000, but and they'd rather, how do you do that? You hire Americans. So there's an incentive to hire American. But there may be instances where it's better off doing it through expertise or whatever it may be. But they're both unbelievable, whether it's a gold card or anything else that we talked about today. And that includes talking about freedom of speech, because our country has been decimated by bad people, very bad people, people that love crime. They love crime. Explain it to me. They don't want to have our military go in and save lives. But when you go and ask the people, do you mind having the National Guard come in if it meant safety? They look at the question like, what's wrong? What kind of a stupid question is that? Of course they do. We're going to have a safe country again. We're not going to have people shot. 11 people shot. Think of it. In Chicago, over a period of 6 or 7 weeks, 55 people were murdered. And then you have a governor saying how wonderful it is. It's not wonderful. It's very unsafe. There's not a place in the world. You go outside, you go to Afghanistan, you go to different places all over the world that you hear about. It's 20% of what's happening in places like Chicago. And you think of them as unsafe. Mexico City, it's a tough place, dangerous place. The crime rate is lower. Think of it. What's happening to our country? We're not going to let it happen. And I think I got elected largely for that reason. So we're going to have a safe country again. We're going to have a great country again. We're doing unbelievably. We have the highest stock market in history. We have the most investment we've ever had, ever, as a country coming in. And we're very simple. You know, they said, how'd you get elected? I got elected because I'm going to make America great again. That's what we're doing. We're making America great again. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Russ. Thank you, Russ. Thanks, guys. We'll both go right there. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
All right, as you see, they're listening into that event there where President Trump welcomed the press into the Oval Office as he signed executive orders there on immigration and really answered a lot of questions. We do know that earlier this week, President Trump was overseas there in the United Kingdom, so not having as much of an opportunity to speak directly to the United States press. But again, all of those members there able to ask him questions on a bunch of different topics. So we did want to bring that to you here on Live Now from Fox. What we're going to do now is slide away for a quick 2-minute commercial break. On the other side, we'll be touching on some of the other top stories and breaking news, looking ahead to other events that we're also expecting to get started here on Live Now.
This festive season, sweeten your celebrations with MTR. Meetha matlab
NTI.
Don't raise your voice to prove your rights. Focus your mind with every word of irrefutable fact you can find. Because conviction is the calm that comes when you know that you really do know.
We have set the all-time record for the lowest number of illegal border crossings ever recorded. The number of illegal border crossings released into the United States is down 99.999%. That is usually 100%. So I think it's an amazing tribute, and Christy, congratulations, and Tom and everybody else. It's an amazing job, actually. And it was done very quickly. We officially designated Tren de Aragua MS-13 and the Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, and we're expelling these monsters from our country rapidly and working with the Department of Justice. Pam, you're doing fantastic. You people are amazing. We're having some judge problems, and everybody's reading. Some judges that don't like, killers, murderers being thrown out of the country, so I don't know what their problem is, but we have a little difficulty. We won on the basis of a great border and of getting criminals out of our country. That was why we won every swing state. We won by millions of votes. We won everything. Every metric we won by a lot. It was a massive victory, and we won, I think, largely because of this issue. I put this issue as #1 issue. And they don't want us to do what we're supposed to do, and I don't think that can be. And I hope the Supreme Court is going to fully understand what's going on. We have to get the criminals out of our country, and that's the basis under which we won the election. Core GDP, and this is, you probably saw some numbers today, and I have to start off by saying that's Biden. That's not Trump, because we came in on January, just the quarterly numbers, and we came in and I was very against everything that Biden was doing in terms of the economy, destroying our country in so many ways. Not only at the border was more obvious, but we took over his mess in so many different ways. Core GDP, removing distortions from imports, inventories, and government spending, was up close to 3% when you add it. We had numbers that despite what we were handed, we turned them around, and we were getting them really turned around. Gross domestic investment was a whopping 22%. Now, that is a number that people are coming in at numbers. For instance, I just walked in, I heard Samsung is now, because of the tariffs, they're going to build massive facilities in the United States. If we didn't do the tariffs, they wouldn't be doing that. So it takes a little while to get those facilities built, but they're coming in with big numbers. They're all coming in with big numbers. We have more money being spent than at any time in the history of our country. We're up to close to $8 trillion, I think I can say. And really, it's going to be a lot higher than that. Those are just the ones that we know about. 8 trillion. I'm not going to say, but I'm not sure if Biden did $1 trillion for 4 years, 1 trillion. But we're at 8 trillion for 2 months, because let's give us a pass on the first month. We were sort of getting a little bit used to things, right? But after 2 months, we have $8 trillion. There's never been a number like that. And that includes chip companies, car companies, every form of manufacturing, high-tech companies. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. So $8 trillion. I could talk about gross domestic product, gross domestic investment. I can talk about a lot of things, but to me, the biggest numbers, the kind of numbers that are, and these people are coming in. Our Secretary of Commerce spent the weekend. He went down to Arizona to see what was happening with the biggest chip company in the world. And he said, Howard, you've never seen anything like it. You want to just describe what you saw?
So they're investing $165 billion in 1,100 acres in Arizona, and they're building the highest tech chip manufacturing, semiconductors, and 4,000 employees. American tradecraft, right? Technicians doing every kind of work. The classic foundation of America is building it. They have 14,000 people. They're expecting 40,000 people to build the rest of their plants and to employ 20,000 people for
the rest of the time. Because it's all driven. You never saw a site done. And this is all driven by your tariff policies. No chance this be happening without it. It's going to be about 40% of the chip market from that one section. And this is the biggest chip maker. They have 99% of the market. They come from Taiwan. And unlike the CHIP Act, which was done by Biden, where they had everybody billions of dollars, the thing they don't need is money. They got plenty of money. What they need is an incentive to come in, and the tariffs, they're building because of the tariffs. Without the tariffs, and I'd like to say they're building because of November 5th, the election and the tariffs, but I'm going to be a little more blunt. They're building because of the tariffs, and November 5th gave them the tariffs. So it's amazing when you look. And these are not companies that go out and say, well, we're going to build, we have to go get our financing, let's go. Like we would, in New York, everybody would look, you get a building site, and then you'd look around for money, you'd look around for financing for 6 months, you'd get your financing, you'd build your building, the market would be good, you'd make money, the market would be bad, it wouldn't be so pretty, you'd have to negotiate, blah, blah, blah. This is different. These people have so much money, they don't know what to do. I asked Howard, did they finance it? No, they do it through cash, and they say that site, and they just started, they just announced it like a month ago, and they've already started. He said, I've never seen a site like it so big. So, you're talking about essentially a $50 billion building. Now, if you build a warehouse for $50 million, that's a big warehouse, Scott. But a $50 billion building, that's a lot. They're building the electric, they've become a utility. And I'm giving them the right to become. They're going to build their own electric. They're going to build their own electricity, which they need tremendous amounts of electricity. They're going to build it themselves. Anything they have left over, they'll hook that into the grid. But the grid is old and they're unreliable and bad things can happen to grids. I said, if you want, you can hook into the grid, but that's a little bit risky. Or you can build your own electricity and become your own utility. And they, I think in all cases, are deciding to do that. So it's very exciting, and we have a lot of things going. We took over on January 20th. These are quarterly reports. We took over on January 20th. The tariffs haven't kicked in yet. I know that, and I don't want this to happen, but I know that China is doing very poorly right now. I just saw some reports coming out, and I don't want that to happen to China. I like the president a lot, President Xi. I don't want it to happen. I was actually saddened to hear it, but they're getting absolutely hammered in China. And, they're sending boats, the biggest boats in the world, carrying cargo like nobody's ever seen before. These are the biggest boats in the world, biggest cargo ships in the world. And they're coming and they're turning around in the Pacific Ocean. They're doing a big U-turn and going back because they don't want the goods, because 145% tariff. But at a certain point, I hope we're going to make a deal with China. We're talking to China, but their factories are closing all over China because we're not taking their product. We don't want their product unless they're going to be fair with us. And that includes intellectual property and other things. There are a lot of things far beyond just buy, sell. So we'll see what happens. But, I was not, because somebody said, well, were you happy? I said, I am not happy. I want China to do well. I want every country to do well. But they have to treat us fairly also. So with that, I think we're going to maybe go around, and we have some letters where the secretaries and people around the table are making statements about how they're doing and what's happening. And I could start with Pete on the left because he's my least controversial person in the room. No, they don't know how good he is. So we'll go around the table and you can hear it. And these are cabinet meetings where they're very open and transparent. And I can guarantee you Biden didn't do this. He didn't do this. Go ahead, Pete.
Well, Mr. President, I think we're controversial because we're over the target. And like so many things, Mr. President, you inherited a demoralized military that couldn't recruit, that was perceived as weak after what happened in Afghanistan and elsewhere because of Joe Biden. And what we've seen since your election and the inauguration has been nothing short of a recruiting renaissance. Decades, it hasn't been decades since we've seen this kind of recruiting in the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Air Force. The men and women of America want to join the United States military led by President Donald Trump.
And the police, by the way.
Absolutely.
And fire. I always mention the fire, but the police and fire, likewise are I mean, they have waiting lists now, and 6 months ago was a disaster.
Truly historic. We can barely absorb the volume and retention as well. Men and women in the military who don't want to get out now that they have a real commander-in-chief. We're reinforcing standards. We're going to be fit, not fat, in our formations. We welcome back all the folks who were forced out because of the COVID mandate. Rip wokeness out of the military, serve DEI, trans, and it's Fort Benning and Fort Bragg again at the DoD. We're rebuilding the military, sir. The Golden Dome is well underway. F-47, reassuring allies and deterring enemies. We found nearly $6 billion in DOGE savings that we're going to reinvest, including $50 billion from the Biden administration focused on things like climate that have nothing to do with lethality and warfighting. And we will have, as you said, sir, the first $1 trillion budget that we plan to spend wisely on behalf of our warfighters. From day one, sir, we've gotten helped get 100% operational control of the border, come alongside DHS and CBP. We've got 11,000 troops on the border who now, because of the new national defense area, sir, can help detain illegals at the border and hand them over to CBP. It used to be if you saw camouflage on the border, they could hold binoculars, and that's it. And now we can detain and assist, and we are. We're going to get 100% operational control of that border. Our NATO allies know they have to step up. The Houthis in the Middle East are feeling the weight of American power, and we're deterring communist China. So because of your leadership, sir, I believe we're making the military great again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Howard?
So I have the pleasure of running the Investment Accelerator, which gets to recruit these companies. And you've never seen anything like the companies committed to building in America. Technology companies have committed over $2.5 trillion to build in America based on your tariffs, right? Sovereign countries all backing, the whole Middle East and all these countries backing their sovereign wealth funds. They all want to invest in America, and they're coming in, again, over $3 trillion committed. So just those two topics, you're at $5.5 trillion, and then you've got the whole pharma industry knows it's got to come home because America pays for all the drugs in the world. So the pharmaceuticals have to come home, right? Auto's coming home, industrial's coming home. So, you know, we've got to train, and your great Secretary of Labor together and Secretary of Education together, we're going to train the workforce to build America. It's unbelievable. We've got so much, as I travel around, the attention on the Trump gold card. I mean, it makes me very popular. Last night, I was out to dinner, and someone came up and said, can I buy 10? And how do I buy 10? And I'm like, that's pretty good. It's $50 million for dinner. So, you know, I was paying for my dinner. The External Revenue Service, right? You've got the tariffs, and then hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars coming in to build the External Revenue Service. That our objective, of course, is to replace the Internal Revenue Service and let those outside countries trading with us, let them pay their fair share to America. And then, of course, you got rid of de minimis. And what happened is these foreign countries were sending in little packages for free and knocking out our mom and pop businesses across America. You put an end to it, and you're going to rebuild the mom and pop and the small business of America. You're their president, and I'm proud to support you.
It's very important. De minimis. It's a big deal. It's a big scam going on against our country, against really small businesses, and we put an end to it.
Mr. President, so CAFE standards, we have the fuel economy standards on vehicles that are going to go to 50 miles per gallon. We are going to rewrite those standards, bring it down to something that's far more reasonable. Elon's fine with that, I hope. But it's going to drive down. It's going to drive down the price of a car in America, making cars more affordable for families. Also, Biden had the social cost of credit when we build infrastructure, roads and bridges, adding 3 to 5% on infrastructure costs. We've gotten rid of the social cost of carbon, driving down the cost to build roads and bridges across the country. We have what is called follow the law. So we have so many states and municipalities that don't follow the law. So whether it's DEI, discriminating against Americans, whether they give illegals driver's license, or their sanctuary cities or states, if you don't follow the law, if you're giving license to illegals, if you're having DEI policies, we're not going to fund your projects. So you got to certify in your state or in your city to get road and bridge money or rail money that you're actually following the law, which includes executive orders from you, Mr. President. We're cutting back funding. We said research money, Mr. President, to universities to do research on more equitable and sustainable transportation systems. Projects that'll use data and public opinion to inform policy and infrastructure and technology benefiting diverse communities, including women and gender non-conforming people. Just stupid waste of money. We're pulling that money back from universities. We should do good research if we do research in universities. And then one last thing, air traffic control. We don't have enough air traffic controllers, we're about 3,000 short. We're working on an agreement with the union, so when controllers become retirement eligible, we're going to cut a deal to try to get them to stay longer, stay in the tower. And then we have a plan to put more butts in seats in Oklahoma City, so we can get more students through the academy and into towers as well. It's going to take us a while to do that, to train them up, but we're in the process before our 4 years are done. Well before that, we're going to be at full capacity.
Sure, do you want to tell them about, I think we have to bring it up. We have very obsolete equipment for air traffic controllers. The equipment, the towers have horrible equipment. It's been renovated for years. The money they spent over the last 4 years, this Buttigieg did a horrible job. They wasted billions and billions of dollars hooking up wire equipment to non-wire equipment to satellite equipment, and a third grade student would know it doesn't work, you can't work it. They wasted tens of billions of dollars. But we want to put a brand new air traffic control system in, and you might want to describe that.
You and I have talked about this. It's a state-of-the-art system, envy of the world. And it's, I mean, listen, our system is safe, but you would have hoped someone would have seen that there's a problem with fixed-wing aircraft and helicopters coming in at DCA. Someone should have seen that before we lost almost 70 lives. It's our job to look and see that we have an aging infrastructure around air traffic control. And so if we don't build a brand new system, there's going to be failures and people will lose their lives. And so we need the help of Congress to help fund this, but it's going to be all brand new. And after you build a brand new system, we have the bedrock and the foundation to actually build on top of it. But no one has done this, Mr. President. There's Band-Aid fixes that have happened over the course of 20 years. You can't have a Band-Aid fix. It doesn't get done. It has to be brand new. The technology, it looks like it's out of a 1980s movie. Old computers, floppy disks. We're using copper wires, not fiber. So there are great solutions we have available that, by the way, everyone's sick of the delayed flights or their canceled flights. We have more capacity in the airspace. And if we build this brand new system, what you'll have is more efficiency in the airspace and it will be safer. So the economy will be stronger. We can have more flights and less delays. So I appreciate your support on that, Mr. President.
Rebuilding that is very important. You wouldn't have had the helicopter crashing into the plane at 400 feet up when it's supposed to be 200 feet. That would have, bells and whistles would have been gone over, and you would have heard the screaming equipment saying, there's a problem coming up in 15 seconds. You got to do something about it right now. And it would have also sent the word right into the helicopter, because I guess you'll be doing the full report on that, but it was pretty obvious what happened. And they were supposed to be at 200 feet, they were 400 feet, and a terrible thing. And that wouldn't have happened if we had the right equipment. If we had the right equipment, you would have heard bells and whistles going off, and it would have alerted them long before that would have happened. 2 minutes before, they would have had a lot of time. So we have to do this. We have no choice, and we're going to do it, and we're going to be very proud of it. They did old equipment in new equipment, and you can't hook in old equipment to new equipment because it's different. Some is satellite and some is ground. The satellite doesn't work. This man would know that better than anybody, but you can't hook up a satellite system to a ground wired system. And if you do, you're wasting a lot of money. They spent billions. This is Buttigieg. They spent billions and billions of dollars trying to patch a system together. They had hundreds of different contractors, and the contractors were all fighting with each other. We're going to have one great big contractor, like the great big beautiful bill, which is going along very well. I guess I like great big beautiful, but we're going to have one great big beautiful contractor, whether it's maybe Raytheon, maybe IBM, maybe it could be any one of 4 or 5 different groups, but you put one in charge. They're very big, very powerful monetarily, and they give you a guarantee, and they hook up everything. They do every single thing. So they're responsible for the digging of the ditches and the fiber and every single element. And it's one system that's hooked in. It's not all these hodgepodge systems that don't work together. It's just a shame. It's basic construction, but it's complex stuff. And there are a few companies that do it unbelievably well, and we're going to have that. So good job, John. I know that's your big project.
Mr. President, no one has done it because it is complex. It's hard to do because as you're building a brand new system, you have planes taking off and landing. So because it's complex, no one has done it, and you've given the directive and the support to make this happen. So
Well,
thank you.
ours is going to be an all-new system. It's going to all hook up. It's going to be the same tower is going to have the same equipment, and all towers all over the country, all over the world actually, mostly, are going to be hooked in together. And when there's a problem, when planes are too close, you will hear a sound that's very ear-shattering. And I've heard it, and it's amazing. I mean, honestly, it's amazing. It's real genius stuff, and we didn't do that. What we did was just waste money. You could have just thrown it right out the window. What they did in this last 4 years was disgraceful. Whether it was the border or this, you can name 100 different things. The worst administration ever. Okay. Thank you. Mr. President. Secretary?
Yeah, Mr. President, thank you. And I think one of the things that I want people to understand about the VA is we're part of the national security interests you have. You laid the groundwork for that, with leadership and making sure that with the Secretary of Defense and myself, we take care of veterans on 2 ends. One when they come in and one when they serve and earn the benefits that we have. And one of the things is if we're not doing our job on our end, then the recruitment and all goes down the other end because we have a full spectrum. That's what leadership is about. What we found, speaking the last 4 years, is we found an administration that wanted to throw money and people at problems, but they didn't want to put leadership in. They just put money and people at it, and we saw wait time stay the same. We saw issues of suicide rates, death by suicide, not change. We saw homelessness issue barely go down. We saw disability claims skyrocket when you took place over 250,000 back dislodge, which we're already bringing down 40,000 so far just in the last couple of months. But we've also put back what you, and I was in Congress when this happened, and I was glad to see it, the Mission Act is back front and center at the VA. We're actually doing community care. We're actually giving the veteran the choice that they've earned and they deserve, whether they can get their VA care inside our facilities or in the community. It's their choice. It's VA care. We're going to give them the highest quality care wherever they want to go. Also, we're expanding out options for treatments and others for those that are new. We're experimenting and looking at new counseling ideas, on new drug techniques that we can help with PTSD, TBI, the things that are affecting our veterans right now. But also we've taken the leadership to take people and bring them back into work where they're actually communicating. They're back in our offices. We've put thousands of people back in. We're processing more claims daily than we were in the last little bit, hit 1 million before it has ever happened, and we're actually bringing it down. And I've actually taken our deputy secretary, and he is actually having a strike force now to bring down that disability claim, plus our regular work that we're having done. We've also taken almost $300+ million and taken it out of contracts that we've all heard about so far. We were doing contracts for meeting notes and PowerPoints. And if our folks didn't know how to do meeting notes and PowerPoints, go online and learn yourself. We're not going to pay for it anymore. And we took $360 million and put it back into community care and also our health records management system that we have. We've opened 6 new facilities just in the last little bit for so all the media who wants to talk about how we're hurting healthcare. We just opened 6 new facilities. By the way, thank you. You're welcome. As we go from that, we continue. We've also took $11.6 billion in ceiling values of contracts and terminated that we did not need, resulting in significant cost avoidance for the future, but also still maintaining the ability to take care of our patients and also our disability benefits. We've also gotten unity again. We did away with $14 million in DEI spending. We've ended gender dysphoria treatments. We phased that out. All directed the savings from that go to paralyzed veterans and amputees. We've also continued to work toward, as you've, in anti-Semitism and also anti-Christian bias that we saw. The biggest thing, though, Mr. President, I want to state, is you told me when you said for me to take this job, you said, take care of my veterans. Well, we've done something in taking that step forward. The veteran is back first at the VA. The VA is not about itself anymore. We're not a self-feeding animal. It's about a service organization that takes care of one of the best we have, and that's our veterans. And that one, Mr. President, we're just getting started.
Thank you, Doug. How are you doing with the suicide rates?
We're getting, it's tough, Mr. President. That's something that we're looking at. this is something that we've had $588 million that's been spent over the last 4 or 5 years to be prevention, and yet the numbers stay at 17 or 21, wherever you don't have it. We're now opening that back up, taking in nonprofits. We're bringing in others who have things that are actually looking at. I worked with Candy and others on the idea of we're opening up the possibility of psychedelic treatment and others that give us an opportunity. We got to research it, make sure it's good, but it's opening up that possibility. And I think, again, veterans are understanding now that we're putting them first. When I go to these hospitals, they're actually coming up saying thanks. We're back in where we need to be, and we're seeing a workforce develop. So suicide is going to come down. It's also going to take some transition stuff that your Secretary of Defense has been very helpful on. We've got to transfer them out of the military so they come to us better, but we're working on that.
Thank you. Jamison?
Mr. President, it may come as a surprise, but this has been the busiest 100 days in the history of the
This is the biggest deal ever done. If you sold IBM, ExxonMobil, and 5 other companies together, it's peanuts compared to what we're doing. This is the biggest deal ever done financially in the history of the world. And I think we're doing great. You're going to see some big results. Go ahead.
And I'll just say something that Secretary Duffy said in his context, because it's complex, no one has done it. So this is something, a reordering of global trade that hasn't happened since the end of World War II. And it's long overdue because we've seen manufacturing offshore under the old global trading system. When the net result of the global trading system is that all the manufacturing goes to Asia and other places, that's a system you have to replace, and that's what you're doing. They said you wouldn't be able to do global tariffs. We did it. They said everyone would retaliate. No one retaliated outside of China. They said no one would come to negotiate. We're talking to dozens of countries. They said no one would have offers. We have dozens of written offers. We have lots of countries in this week. This is like a break for me to come.
With all the countries that want to negotiate, they all want to negotiate. They want to make a deal.
Don't zoom in on this. Yeah, this is like a tracker, right? We have all these columns of which countries have come in, when we started negotiations, who gave us an offer, are we in technical talks, and when do we expect to have deals done? Those are some weeks out, but we're working very quickly on this. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, James. You're going to have a lot of fun for the next 3 weeks.
Mr. President, for the last 4 years, the world experienced a total lack of zero leadership under Biden. And then we've had 100 days of your leadership with respect, with strength, starting with there'll be all hell to pay if you don't let our people go. Dozens, over 40 Americans have come home under your leadership. Far more terrorists are no longer threatening the homeland under your leadership, pulling all of these agencies together, including the evil individual responsible for the Abbey Gate bombing, and to sit with the 13 Gold Star families, and you showing that follow-up and that justice has been incredible. But pulling this great team together, Mr. President, everything from revitalizing shipyards to cyber to space, that takes this entire team working together. It's an honor to serve you in this administration, and I think the world is far better, far safer for it.
Thank you very much. The Abbey Gate is really important. This was a horrible thing that destroyed the image, frankly, of the Biden administration. What happened there was a disgrace. It should have never happened, and Pam is working very much on prosecuting that person, the active person, and he'll do well. I have no doubt about it. Thank you very much, Michael. So the CIA, I don't know, Ratcliffe, I don't know if he's going to say anything. He's probably the one person here that's not allowed to talk about the great job he's done, but go ahead. And
Mr. President, as you know, at your direction, the CIA has deployed our unique covert action authorities in various places and continents to successfully advance your national security and foreign policy priorities, to advance peace, to end wars, to take terrorists off the battlefield, and to keep illicit drugs from coming into this country and harming Americans. Unfortunately, as much as I would love to detail your accomplishments in that regard, we can't do so in this crowd. But you and I both know, Mr. President, that you have had a profound positive impact on America's national security posture and Americans are safer because of your leadership. What I can talk about publicly is, as has been mentioned, the CIA provided the intelligence that led to the apprehension of the Abbey Gate bomber, who is now being prosecuted by our great Attorney General and providing a measure of justice to those 13 families that suffered as a result of that disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal during the last administration. In addition, at your direction, Mr. President, the CIA has negotiated and secured the release of Americans like Mark Fogel and Ksenia Carolina, who have been wrongfully detained, sending the message that you will forget about no Americans that are being held in other places unfairly and unjustly. And finally, Mr. President, the CIA is being restructured at your direction to focus on our core mission and to eliminate the well-documented politicization that has taken place in the intelligence community from bad actors in the past, to focus on our core mission and to make America safe again. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. President.
Good job. You're doing a great job. Thank you very much. Russell?
We're obviously involved in a number of budget bills that are moving, trying to make sure all of your priorities are reflected in the reconciliation, working on our upcoming budget. Wonderful job by the entire cabinet on that front. Details soon on that front. Sending up rescissions bills to Congress for things that Elon has found. But the regulatory aspect is something we don't talk about enough. And right now you've given us a goal of 10 for 1. We are working right now with all of the agencies to rack up how big of a deregulatory agenda that we can have. When you came into office, you basically stopped $200 billion in costs to American families just by stopping the Biden regulatory agenda. That's about $2,000 per family. We think when we're going to hit these 10 for 1 goals that we could be in the neighborhood of about $900 billion in savings to American families that would be substantially bigger than that $2,000 number. And the point that I would make, in addition to just savings cheaper to the American people, there's an aspect of wisdom when you're enforcing these rules that comes into play. And I'm your regulator for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and we found this small mortgage lender in Chicago. His name is Barry Sterner. He had a firm called Townstone. And CFPB had gone after him because he complained about crime in Chicago, literally the same thing that the Democrat mayor had talked about. And they came after him for 7 years on a redlining disparate impact claim and ruined his life. We overturned that. We apologized on your behalf to that individual, and we basically, without having to go through notice and comment, we ended the policy that set that in motion. And so that's happening across these agencies with how they are using their enforcement discretion, and it will only continue based on the stonewall of backing that you've given us to make these hard calls. I don't think they're actually that hard, but no one's done it to this point, and we were able to go forward and do that because of the backing that you've given us.
So maybe the biggest thing we're working on, maybe bigger than tariffs in a certain sense, is we call it the one big beautiful bill. And that's wielding its way right now through the Senate. And John Field has been actually amazing. And the Speaker has been so great, Congress. Mike Johnson has been really two guys that they get along great, and it's just been a beautiful, unified attack, really, because we have to attack because the Democrats are trying to stop it at every turn. It would mean a 58% tax hike if they were successful, and lots of other bad things beyond the tax hike. But with us, it'll be the biggest tax cut in American history. How are we doing with the bill?
We're doing great. We're day in, day out, hour by hour negotiations to make sure your stuff is in there, and to make sure we have the border resources, the defense resources, and to save the American people some tax money and make sure all those tax cuts that you ran on are in there that help get people back into the workforce. And I think we're making a ton of progress.
I think we're doing well. Like I said, the biggest tax cut in the history of our country. And it would be the biggest tax increase if the Democrats are successful. They're the only people I've ever seen running for office where they want to increase taxes, but this would be a 58, maybe a 60% tax increase, unsustainable for the American people. Thank you very much. Great job. Susie, the most powerful woman in the world. I agree with that. I agree.
We've reached some good here from these amazing people. Congratulations to everyone on 100 days. It's been it's unparalleled in my memory and best I can tell ever. But it hasn't been busy for busy's sake. The president's promises made to the American people have been kept time and time and time again. You all have been out there spreading the word with community groups and states and media. It hasn't gone unnoticed, and let's work hard to the next 100 and have equally as much success then. Thank you.
You're doing a great job, Susan. I think everybody agrees. Everybody that disagrees, please. Please raise your hand if you have the courage to do so. Anyway, go ahead.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Thank you. And you made it very clear that you wanted to put America first. And also from day one, you wanted to make housing affordable again, because we do have a housing affordability crisis in our country. And so at HUD, we've been cutting all the red tape and bureaucracy as it pertains to housing affordability and unleashing creativity of our builders and developers around our country and restoring local control. We took down the affirmative fair housing rule, as you know, which was a zoning tax from Washington. So no longer will Washington be picking winners and losers, but localities and elected officials in different states and cities will have that flexibility. Also, you alluded to securing the border, and such a great job has been done with all of our partners at the table. And at HUD, we want to make sure that the resources that we have now, which is American taxpayer dollars, in the Biden administration, they prioritize illegal aliens over the American people. And so we signed an MOU with Secretary Noem and DHS to make sure that HUD-funded housing only goes to American citizens and no longer will it go to illegal aliens coming across our border. We have about 9 million people living in subsidized housing in our country. 59% of illegal alien families use some sort of welfare program costing us $42 billion a year. And so we have prioritized American and American people only to live in HUD-funded housing. And also to make housing affordable, we also signed a partnership with Secretary Burgum and DOI to use underutilized federal lands, as you campaigned on and promised, to identify those lands to build affordable housing in our country so that people can realize the American dream. We also restored biological truth, as you did in sports. We have the equal access rule at HUD, which we took that rule down to ensure that at women shelters, that those that enter those shelters would be of the same sex, and that we protect the ladies of our country. No longer will those that identify as women but are not women be able to enter our shelter, so we can protect the ladies that we serve. Along with our Donors Task Force, we identified over $2 billion in savings. At HUD, $260 million at HUD was just in contracts, $4 million with DEI. And so we took those contracts down and de-obligated and sent back $1.9 billion back to the Treasury for the American people. Again, we want to be good stewards over the American taxpayer dollars. And so, Mr. President, thank you for your leadership in this. And we have a tremendous team at HUD, and I'm so grateful to be part of this team around this table to take care of the American people. And I consider it a great honor and humble to do so.
Good job.
Yes, sir. Yes, appreciate it.
Well, I'm not sure if anyone's heard, but the price of eggs is down. I know it's news. Listen, sir, today as we celebrate the 100th day, I think that it's just such a joy and an honor to continue to do this work, so thank you for that. We have been obviously very focused on the cost of groceries, specifically eggs led the way, as you have so eloquently discussed over the last few months, and we're holding tight on a very significant decrease, which is great, and investing where we need to there. As I mentioned before the press came in, we have had a massive issue with Mexico on water, getting water to our farmers along the border for decades. When I worked in Texas 25 years ago, we were fighting with the Mexican government over the water then. You got involved about 2 weeks ago. That evening, I started conversations, and as of just a few days ago, thanks to Secretary Rubio's great deputy secretary and I have been negotiating, and we hit the best deal, I believe, in history on behalf of our farmers, and thanks to your leadership and your strength on that. And that's a really big deal long term for those farmers in the southern part of the country. On the energy side, I know we've got Secretary Burgum and his partner Secretary Wright, but we often forget that agriculture has a major piece of the energy dominance agenda, not just timber, not just minerals, but biofuels. So we continue to support that great leadership coming from those agencies and doing hopefully our part as well, and they've been incredible in that. Our farmers have been hurting under the Joe Biden administration. There was a 30% increase in the cost of input, so the cost of doing business for these farmers over those 4 years. When we left the White House the first time 4 years ago, we had a $0 trade deficit with our agriculture products. After 4 years of Biden, that hit $50 billion because they just didn't make an effort. And so obviously that's $50 billion less dollars at a time of very thin profitability for our agriculture community. So the Congress passed because the last administration didn't get a farm bill done either, the farmers were hurting there, so Congress stepped in. I say all that and basically said $10 billion to move out. USDA, fastest in history, that money went out to those farmers that couldn't make plant their crops. And so I'm really proud of that, and you'll hear a lot of that from the farmers today, that this USDA is moving more quickly than any ever before. And we're not organizing money based on the color of skin and other ways, which was how the last administration was moving out. We have canceled $6 billion in contracts thanks to our great friend Elon Musk and his Doge team. A lot of those were DEI, gender, studying transgender mice. Who knew the racism and pest management? We've canceled all of it. We're going through a major restructuring. USDA is one of the biggest agencies. It's sort of a catch-all. And we're really downsizing and aligning around putting farmers first, which is really important. A big part of USDA is food stamps. It is perhaps one of the largest, if not the largest, welfare program, and it's a supplemental nutrition program. Secretary Kennedy and I have been working very closely. We were in Texas yesterday talking about nutrition and agriculture. You can't make America healthy again without your farmers and your ranchers as your partner. So ensuring that our food stamp program and those at the bottom end of the socioeconomic ladder really have access to nutritious foods as we're facing an obesity crisis and a chronic disease crisis, which I'm sure Secretary Kennedy will touch on. And the final thing I'll say is this morning, Secretary Noem and I, together, and I brought a picture because I think this is important and it goes to why we're here. This is a South Dakota ranching family named the Mods. They are a fifth generation ranching family. Charles Mod, in his 30s, bought the ranch from his granddad, we'll show the press, when he was 17 years old. Those beautiful children, Lyle and Kennedy, his wife Heather. Under the Biden administration, they had of their several hundred-acre operation, they used about 20 acres and had a fence that had been there since 1910 when their family took over the ranching operation. There had never been really any problem that had been brought to their attention. Perhaps there was a minor dispute over, again, 20 acres. This family was indicted, prosecuted, threatened with jail time, told to find guardians for their children over a fence line dispute that the Biden DOJ pushed forward. So this morning on the steps of the U.S. Department of Agriculture with Secretary Noem, who was their governor, as the governor of South Dakota, which is where these great people are from, all criminal charges were dropped, and really appreciate the Department of Justice. It was a really big day as we sent a signal that the over-criminalization and using government, and you know this better than anyone because you were in the crosshairs for so long, that those days are over and the regulation through prosecution is no more. And so this family is one of many that we'll now be talking to ensure that never happens.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please, Scott.
Sir, it's been a momentous 100 days with you at the helm, and I view this 100 days as setting the table for peace deals, trade deals, tax deals, So the next 100 days will be harvesting. You've created negotiating leverage and leadership. They're going to yield remarkable results. Energy costs have plummeted. Mortgage rates are down, food costs are moving lower, and American families are finding their financial footing again. I had a group in today. America, under your leadership, is on the verge of becoming an AI superpower. That our economy had become barbelled. We had high tech and finance on one side, natural resources led by energy, which the previous administration tried to kill on the other, and you're filling in between with precision manufacturing that we're going to be bringing back through good trade policies, good tax policies. Under the DOGE at Treasury and the IRS, cost, tech support, and efficiency have increased. We have the IRS revenues are up, and thanks to the young man sent over by DOGE, the IT update that began in 1990, which has begun before he was born, is going to be finished during your term. So trade, you couldn't make it up, trade, taxes, and deregulation, the one big beautiful bill under your leadership. Speaker Johnson and Leader Thune have done a great job, but they had you as the closer on many of their members. And I'll just close by saying economic security is national security is economic security, and it's never been better. We're rebuilding it, and as I said last week at the IMF and World Bank conferences, America first does not mean America alone. Under President Trump, it means leadership.
Awesome.
Thank you. Are you busy now? He's doing a great job. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, thank you, and thanks to the cabinet. So, at the risk of insulting everybody else at the table, I believe that I'm the youngest member sitting at the table. And, it occurred to me that from the time that I was born to the time that Donald J. Trump was inaugurated just a few months ago, we went from, again, 40 years, we went from the world's manufacturing superpower to one in which we depend on the People's Republic of China to make the things that we need. We went from the proudest military in the world to one in which we failed to meet our recruiting goals. And we went from one in which bipartisan border policy was the consensus of both Democrats and Republicans to one in which we allowed 20 million people to run roughshod illegally over the countryside, causing crime, causing a stress in the welfare system. And again, that happened over the lifetime of the youngest member of the cabinet. And what has happened in 100 days is that we've started to reverse every single one of those negative trends. And I think what it shows to me is that the president, and you sit in the Oval Office and you see these portraits of presidents past, and let's be honest, most of them have been placeholders. They've been people who have allowed their staff to sign executive orders with an auto pen instead of men of action. And the reason the media attacks this administration as chaotic is because the president is solving the problems the American people set about to solve. He's actually doing the things that he promised that he would do. And Mr. President, it's been an honor to be part of it for the past 100 days. And let me just make one other observation because it's interesting. I've seen the data, I've monitored it, I've looked at it, but the most underreported fact of the first 100 days
or I think that President Trump deserves political credit for it. Why did we go from a military where people didn't want to serve to now all of a sudden they do want to serve? That's a story you guys should cover. But compared to that, how much time have you instead focused on the fact that we deported an MS-13 gang member with a valid deportation order? And why is it that the press is so focused on the fake BS rather than what's really going on in the country? I think that what we've shown, sir, is that you can do a lot. You can do a lot in 100 days, but you've also unfortunately revealed that too much of the American media hasn't learned the lessons of the past 40 years. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ma'am?
President, your first 100 days has far exceeded that of any other presidency in this country, ever. Ever. Never seen anything like it. Thank you. Your directive to me was very simple. Make America safe. And despite that, we've still been defending over 200 civil lawsuits filed against you. On top of everything else, I think I'm representing every one of you in this room in some capacity. And no, you will not be arrested by the U.S. Marshals. Over 200 lawsuits, over 50 injunctions. And now we've got multiple cases in front of the Supreme Court, and we will succeed, and we are doing great in front of the Supreme Court, President, and we'll continue on with that. I was at DEA yesterday, and they said to me, you, Donald Trump, have taken the handcuffs off of DEA agents. And as a result of, since you have been in office, President Trump, your DOJ agencies have seized more than 22 million fentanyl pills, 3,400 kilos of fentanyl since you've been your last 100 days, which saved, are you ready for this, media? 258 million lives. Kids are dying every day because they're taking this junk laced with something else. They don't know what they're taking. They think they're buying a Tylenol or an Adderall and a Xanax, and it's laced with fentanyl, and they're dropping dead. And no longer because of you, what you've done. ATF, since you've been in office, President, along with DOJ agencies, seized 14,500 guns off the streets. Why aren't people reporting that? 651,000 rounds of ammo. That's up 151% from 2024. That's keeping America safe. We've rescinded death penalty. We are now seeking the death penalty on cases. I'm signing death warrants. We are going after terrorism. We are going after arsonists. Whether you're burning Teslas, we've arrested 9 people so far in 7 jurisdictions, no negotiations, 20 years in prison, or you're burning down the governor's mansion in Pennsylvania. We will be there to protect you. And I've been talking to Governor Shapiro, and he greatly appreciated you reaching out as well. ISIS terrorist, we got one in New York, right around the corner. We got an ISIS terrorist in New York. We have an October 7th task force. We just broke up a huge human trafficking ring by the Sinaloa cartel. 1,000 pounds of methamphetamine on our streets. Ton of fentanyl, 20,000 Molly pills. Those are the drug of choice among clubs and bars for young kids. They were fake, but you know what they had in them? Fentanyl. That's 20,000 lives saved because of you, right there. We brought back 29 cartel members from Mexico in your direction, and one killed the Kiki Camareno, a DEA agent, in 1985, and many of us got to talk to his widow and his son, who is now a judge. And they started crying. They have tried to get that guy back forever. And thanks to so many of you in this room working together, they have justice. They were crying on the phone because of what you did, President Trump. Thank you. We're going after anti-Semitism. We're unleashing everything you told us. No more DEI, no more weaponization. We've rescinded, as I said, 200 policies. And I could go on all day long, but we are doing everything in our power to keep America safe at your direction.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, President.
You really did a great job. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's go.
Nice to see you, Mr. President. Well, first of all, I think what you've heard amongst this team is the leadership, because it's given us the latitude really to collaborate amongst each other, not only in this room, as Jameson mentioned, we kind of get a break for a couple of hours here, but we stay in contact actually every other day that we're working for you. And I think what that says is, I was speaking to, for instance, the Farm Bureau of Texas yesterday. I'm not the Ag Secretary, but it matters to the workforce. I'm working with the other secretaries, Lutnick and McMahon, on education and the workforce investments that you've asked me to do. Because as you've come in and negotiated these great repatriation of these companies and the investments, we're going to need that workforce to build back this economy. And I couldn't see that more as I kicked off my 50-state tour. We've been in 5 states so far. We'll finish all 50 states by the end of the year. And what we're talking to is the American workforce and these companies about what the market demand is. That's the difference, that we finally have made that connection. What do they need? How quick do they need it? And how fast can I get these either apprenticeships toward that million that we've put that lofty goal. We've already added 80,000 new apprenticeships already just since January. So at the Department of Labor, that tour has kicked off, and I couldn't be more honored to be on the ground and see my colleagues that we're passing in the skies, but we're on the ground together because we're all collaborating together. One of the things that we're talking about, illegal immigration, I have put states on notice. I warned all 50 governors that if they continue to reward illegal immigration by treating unemployment benefits as a handout, they're going to lose their federal funding as well. We can no longer continue to give unemployment insurance to illegal immigrants, and so I've let those governors, and I sent out that letter last week. We also eliminated discriminatory DEI offices within the department, specifically the Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs. Most of our federal contracts were really just to focus on DEI enforcement. We were really punishing a lot of these companies. If they weren't complying, they weren't going to have a federal contract. We've let go of that program completely. $4.4 billion in unspent COVID funds came back to the Treasury from the CARES Act. Billions were collecting dust in these coffers, in the state coffers. We've asked for that money back to return to the Department of Treasury. We saved $250 million by canceling America Last, is what I call it, foreign handouts, including funding for things like transparency and accountability for Uzbekistan cotton industry. It doesn't make sense that we're funding these foreign, and thank you to DOJ and to the government efficiency, what we have found with the fraud that we're seeing.
But some of these things are interesting.
No, I write them down.
It's based on cotton farmers? It sounds like a comedy sketch.
And so again, with the executive order preparing Americans for high-paying skilled trade jobs of the future, that's our goal. The trades is where we're being focused, but all companies, and we want to make sure we're on hand for that. And what I want to say is thank you to government efficiency, because you asked us, when this transitions out, will our departments and our agencies continue that government efficiency? And I think that we've surpassed that in the Department of Labor. Out of our 14,000 federal employees, 3,000 have taken the DRP, and we offered it again. So over 21% have taken that offer. And we'll keep our critical workforce, MSHA, OSHA, and wage and hour, and make sure our workers stay safe. So with your leadership, Mr. President, I couldn't be more honored to serve. I know we were probably the last to know each other, but we're getting to know each other well. And the team that you have assembled is really an honor to serve with. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Chris, please.
Mr. President, you ran on unleashing American energy, and 100 days have shown the tremendous impacts that can arise from the unleashing you have enabled. I'll hit a few highlights. Number one, oil, gasoline, and diesel prices are the lowest they've been in years. How does that happen in 100 days? That's a messaging. Your message that we're pro-energy. We're not against energy, we're for it. That sends a message to the marketplace that supply is easier to grow now and supply will be coming, and that's already led to tremendous savings for American consumers across the country. And we need not only more affordable energy, but we need a lot more energy. One highlight I think a couple of us have touched on is AI. This is a new emerging critical industry that's very energy intensive. It is not acceptable for the United States to not be the leader in AI. We must win the AI race and lead in that, and that's going to take a lot more energy. If you had not won election, we would not have won the AI race. Full stop. Energy would not have been there to enable us to win. Reshoring of manufacturing. These trillions of dollars you led off with, it's going to come back to our country to make chips, to make steel, to make automobiles, to make artificial intelligence, to make all of these industries we've outsourced. That's only going to be possible with way more American energy. But we have that energy. We have those resources. We have those businesses. We have those capitalists. We just need to stop standing in the way of them and follow the lead you've set, which is to enable them, not to subsidize them, not to help them, to enable them to invest American money and create American jobs here. Regarding our balance of trade, the second largest export of the United States is liquefied natural gas. Second fastest. In the next few years, it'll be our largest export in our country. But yet, 18 months ago, the Biden administration had said, we're going to stop issuing permits for new LNG export terminals. That's just nuts. That's a great competitive advantage we have, huge balance of trade driver, a huge industry just coiled and ready to go. I just came back from Poland last night. They are thrilled that America's back in business again and that the rest of Europe can get off of Russian energy and can enable their own economic growth with secure, reliable, affordable energy from the United States. Also witnessed the signing ceremony for a deal between two large American businesses to build a huge nuclear power plant in northeastern Poland. The first of this design built in Europe. It'll be the first of many. I spoke with many other nations over there. They want to buy more American gas. They want to get American technology. They want to have a partnership with us. And they shared the message I delivered to Europe in my keynote remarks is that unleashing energy is the way you make your society safer, more prosperous, more free, and that these sort of over-the-top climate alarmism doesn't do anything to help the environment of our world, but it does impoverish people, it does reduce the security of your nation, and it makes you weaker. I think that's a constant message many of us around this table have brought to Europe. We want our friends in Europe standing up again and leaning in. A lot great is happening under your leadership. We're unleashing consumer products that Americans wanted to buy that Biden was making illegal. I'll be in Georgia on Friday at Renai's manufacturing plant. Tankless natural gas water heaters. Incredibly popular product. They almost became illegal. The return of common sense is incredibly welcome across this country, across the world. And back to Elon, that extra thing, we're going to deliver all of this with less people, less money, less burden on the U.S. taxpayers. Not smaller departments and smaller services, better, more thoughtful services done more efficiently and smarter. The way you have to run a business. We've got to get our fiscal house in order, and you and the people around this table are making it happen. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm honored to be here.
Thank you very much. Please.
Yes, Mr. President, you are 100% correct. The border is 99.99% safe, under control. You have completely reversed the entire situation. In fact, the day before yesterday, I was down in El Paso, and those Border Patrol agents are so impacted by how you have changed things in a year. They have put up huge pictures that say, under the Biden administration, the mobs of people that were pushing through razor wire and trampling children, and the chaos and the violence that was happening at that same location, they have a picture there that says, this is what the Biden administration looks like, and this is what the Trump administration looks like. It's peaceful. People who do business between Mexico and America are coming through. They're doing it legally. They're following the law, and it's all because of what you've done and what you've empowered them to do. The recruitment for Border Patrol is through the roof. For ICE agents, they want to be a part of ICE because they recognize they actually get to do their jobs. I have the Coast Guard too. Coast Guard recruitment is up over 20% just in the last 60 days. Everybody wants to be a part of what the heritage is of this country. We've repositioned the entire Coast Guard fleet to focus on border and drug interdiction. As we've secured the border, the cartels have gone to the water and are going out in maritime waters to move their drugs into this country. The Coast Guard just in the last 2 months has taken into custody over 126 tons of cocaine, millions of doses of fentanyl. It's just amazing. And the aliens that they are deporting is incredible too. We've been working with all of them. The one thing that I want to point out is the fake news has been saying that Biden deported more people than you. And it's an absolute lie. And they're letting the Biden administration get away with manipulating and cooking the books. What they're counting for the Biden administration is every single person that came to that border that they processed and let into this country. They're allowing Biden to say that was a deportation just by processing somebody and letting them come into the country. It's absolutely false. It's not true at all. You have deported over 250 known terrorists. You've deported thousands of foreign terrorist organization members and gang members, hundreds of thousands of people that were in this country illegally. We've collected $30 billion worth of tariffs through CBP, and we've also collected millions and millions, hundreds of millions of fines and penalties from people that have overstayed here in this country. So I just want to thank you. You've been a game changer. I want to thank Pete for his leadership at DOD and what they've done. I want to thank Marco for his diplomacy and getting us travel documents into these countries. Mexico has finally come to the table and now is going to take a lot more people that we're able to send back to that country. And the president of Mexico told me, sir,
She turned around over 500,000 people in Mexico before they ever reached our border. We should be counting those as deportations because they never even made it to the border because she turned them around because you forced her to. So those are all people that never even came here because they got the message because you were so aggressive. So thank you for what you're doing, and every day we get to get into jobs that matter, and we appreciate that. Oh, yeah, Tom's a great messenger for us. He just, yeah, he's hardcore. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, he is.
Mr. President, it's such an honor to serve in this administration, and on behalf of Main Street America, for our 34 million small businesses that make up 99% of all businesses in this great nation, I have to tell you, under your leadership, Main Street is open for business again. They're thriving and they're investing. And the data that we have at the Small Business Administration, the loans that we're putting out, a record 26,000 loans in your first 100 days means that 2,000 small businesses each week are receiving that funding, that investment in the future. Small businesses create 2 out of every 3 new jobs in this country, and we've already seen under your leadership the jobs economy is back, manufacturing jobs are back. We've seen a 38% increase in manufacturing loans. We put out 1,500 manufacturing loans in your first 100 days. We saw startups increase by 54%, and we saw businesses under 5 people increase by 95%. So your leadership on the economy matters to every region of this great nation. I'll tell you on the manufacturing front, I'm out on a national manufacturing tour. We've met with 250 manufacturers, and as I walk through the factory floors, they all ask me to thank you for fighting for their jobs, for these industries, and for the people who are creating things from pharmaceuticals to aerospace, to food, and all these essentials that this nation needs to be independent and strong. And to that end, I'm working with Congress. We'll be announcing tomorrow an upsizing of our manufacturing loans to make sure that that economic engine, because 98% of all manufacturers are small businesses. It's incredible to walk through these factories that are really creating what you had in your first administration, the blue-collar boom. It's now a new-collar boom because it's the intersection of technology and manufacturing and what they can create for our war fighters, for our aerospace, for pharmaceuticals with less than 300 to 500 employees, sometimes 100 employees. I was at a factory in Georgia on Monday that is creating machines to help with the Iron Dome in Israel. Less than 50 employees. This is the engine of our economy. It's the heartbeat of our communities. It's the small businesses that helped elect you because they needed your economic agenda. So thank you, Mr. President. It's such an honor, and congratulations on an epic 100 days. I do have to thank Elon. I do want to note, we just cut $3 billion in contracts because of Doge's work. That's $3 billion that hardworking families that won't have to work until April 15th to pay for the waste, fraud, and abuse that we continue to find in this government on behalf of taxpayers. So again, thank you, Elon, as well. Thank you.
Great job, Kelly. Thank you very much. Elon, I love the double hat.
Well, Mr. President, they say I wear a lot of hats. And as you can see, it's true. Even my hat has a hat. The American people voted for secure borders, safe cities, and sensible spending. And that's what they've gotten. A tremendous amount has been accomplished in the first 100 days. As everyone has said, it's more than has been accomplished in any administration before, ever, period. This portends very well for what will happen for the rest of the administration. I think this could be the greatest administration since the founding of the country.
We all want to thank you for your help.
Yeah.
You really have sacrificed a lot. Been treated very unfairly.
Well, they do like to burn my cars, which is not great. It could be better.
But you have been treated unfairly, but the vast majority of people in this country really respect and appreciate you. This whole room can say that very strongly. You've really been a tremendous help. You opened up a lot of eyes as to what could be done. And we just want to thank you very much. And, you're invited to stay as long as you want. At some point, I guess he wants to get back home to his car.
$150 billion, think of it.
Yeah. It's 160 now. Yeah. Yeah, he's counting.
They said, oh, it's gonna get more. And a lot of stuff is being worked on.
Yeah.
That number could be doubled and even tripled. A lot of things are being worked on that we don't count yet because it's not quite there. But you've done a fantastic job and we appreciate it very much.
Thank you. And it's also an honor to work with your incredible cabinet. I just like to say thank you everyone for, it's great to work with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. President, congratulations on this truly historic first 100 days of your administration, really only made possible by your focused leadership in delivering the mandate the American people gave you. You've empowered all of us to deliver that mandate, and I'm grateful to have the privilege of leading the intelligence community towards ending the weaponization, politicization of the intelligence community that's gone on for far too long. And building out what is truly a lean and agile and effective intelligence community that is helping you deliver that promise to the American people of safety, security, and freedom. So, Mr. President, I'd like to highlight just 3 of the areas where we are helping to support your leadership and your work in making America safe again and bringing about these changes. First of all, because of your designation of cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, I took immediate action with our National Counterterrorism Center to prioritize their focus on those terrorists and gang members who are trying to enter our country through legal or illegal means, and to seek out those who already are here in our country because of the Biden administration's 4 years of open borders. We've been working very closely with your great Attorney General's team at the DEA to get these known cartels into our systems, to be able to stop them at the border, and turning over names to Department of Homeland Security and the FBI to be able to find those who are already here in our country. Just the other day, we found 700 alien terrorists who have ties to MS-13, Tren de Aragua, and the Sinaloa cartel. Just yesterday, our NCTC identified almost 600 individuals with ties to other terrorists who came through our borders illegally, claimed asylum, and under the Biden administration were paroled here within our borders. Secondly, Mr. President, like too many organizations in the federal government, the ODNI has become very bloated with too much waste and abuse going on within the organization. We've done a few immediate steps. We are doing more. The ODNI is 25% smaller and more lean today than it was when I walked in the door and when you took office. Secondly, we have just this morning actually shut down a human capital office. As soon as you issued the executive order to stop all DEI activities, we did that, shut down the DEI office. But we discovered this human capital office that was essentially a slush fund for DEI initiatives, hidden under the guise of human capital, that closed down this morning, saving taxpayers $150 million. We'll soon be announcing an additional $2.6 billion in savings with other programs and contracts that do nothing to ensure our national security interests. And lastly, we're working every day to hold the deep state accountable, to end the politicization, weaponization of the intelligence community. This past week, I sent 3 criminal referrals for illegal and unauthorized leaks to the media of classified intelligence for prosecution. We have 11 more that are under investigation. We've revoked, at your direction, 67 security clearances, and we continue the work of declassifying documents, as we have already around the JFK assassination. We have more coming for the assassination of Bobby's father, Senator Kennedy, and MLK assassination. And we continue our extensive investigations around exposing the very serious issues we have related to election integrity, illegal abuses of FISA, Crossfire Hurricane, and others. Mr. President, under your leadership, we are working every day to bring about that transparency and accountability that the American people deserve. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, at the Biden EPA, the Green New Deal was raging. At the Biden EPA, we saw billions of tax dollars burning. At the Biden EPA, we saw industries suffocating. But at the Trump EPA, the Green New Deal is dead. At the Trump EPA, we know that we can both protect the environment and grow the economy. I have 13 pages of accomplishments from our first 100 days in here, and in it, part of it is 100 environmental accomplishments at the Trump EPA. You don't have to take my word for it. We released it to the media this morning. Every single day that President Trump is in this office, there will be a major environmental accomplishment every single day of the Trump administration. At the Trump EPA, we're also launching what is the largest deregulatory action in the history of the country. We're going to be giving our director of the OMB a whole lot of work because we inherited a big mess from the Biden EPA. And working with Elon and Doge, I've canceled now $22 billion worth of grants. Now today is a special day for many reasons. The biggest reason why we're here is that this is the 100th day of the most consequential, historic first 100 days in the history of this country. Today, while we're here, the House of Representatives is voting on Congressional Review Act bills, considering the EPA waivers that were given to California's tailpipe emissions, where California set their own standards. But there should be one national standard, and right now, Congress on the House side is going to be voting on that today. On a personal note, while this is a bit outside of the EPA jurisdiction, today is my last day serving in the United States Army. And I first signed up towards the end of the 90s. And I've had a chance to see a lot of national security teams over the course of the last 27 years. There has never been a national security team ever assembled that had the backs of our warriors like this national security team right now. And we have never had a president so deeply committed towards ending foreign wars instead of starting new ones. There's a reason, Mr. Vice President, why everyone is racing to join our Department of Defense. We have a Secretary of Defense who, with all due respect to our great president, would probably rather be swimming with Navy SEALs right now, be running somewhere in the Middle East with our service members. And from our Secretary of Defense to our Secretary of State, our Vice President, and more. I just want to say thank you as a veteran of our military for assembling what is the greatest national security team that I have ever seen in my 27 years associated with the United States Army.
Has Pete signed off on his retirement leave? Welcome to the Thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
So,
well, Mr. President, I don't think I have ever worked so hard to try to fire myself. But we're certainly making great strides in that. We've reduced the folks over at the Department of Education by about 50% now through our RIF program, and so we've closed a lot of the district offices, consolidated, so there are a lot fewer people working a lot more efficiently in the Department of Education. The commissioners of education in every state, and I was at a meeting with them not too long ago for not only our states but our territories. They are thrilled with the opportunity now to be able to have more control over the education in their states, to get rid of a lot of the red tape and regulation that's kept them from doing what they're doing. So we're seeing, I think, great improvements. We'll see test scores, I believe. It'll take a bit for them to be able to go up, but I think now that they're going to have the opportunity to put in their own programs, we'll see that grow. At the same time, we've been focused on higher education for our universities. We've returned proper enforcement of Title IX protections to schools. We have stopped funding to Columbia, for instance, and some other schools for not only Title IX but Title VI infractions. And those are moving along. I think we've brought people to the table. They know that you are serious. You meant what you said. They're going to make changes. They're making their campuses safer again. Anti-Semitism was just out of control in many of our universities. And so some tried to, in fact, Harvard is sued, and they're saying that it's, First Amendment infraction. No, this is civil rights, safety on our campuses for our young students, who are there. And with with Pam's help and the task force that we formed with HHS, with GSA, with other agencies, we're going to make sure that our campuses are safe. And so there's a lot of good work going on. I think one of the biggest things, you'll be very happy to hear this, Mr. Vogt, that we are collecting on our student loans that have been delinquent since March of 2020. Been no effort to recollect on those loans. As of May 5th, the letter goes out that the loan recollection is beginning again. So for those people who have borrowed money and who've not been paying, and that's just not to be punitive. There are many ways that they can go online to understand how they can get back into the right payment structure, because when they're in default, they can't buy a house, they can't buy a car because their credit scores are down. So it's helpful to them as well as to get this money back into the country. I mean, when $60 billion of increased student loan debt since 2020. And in total, we've got almost $1.7 trillion in student debt. So we're gonna start getting that back. And Scott and his team have been incredibly helpful. We appreciate that so very, very much. And so a lot's going on in the department. And what I would really like, as I'm firing myself, I'd like for you to be known as the education president, because of the best in practice systems that we want to put in every state to incorporate AI, so that we are training these new entrepreneurs and business leaders in our country. We can't do it with the infrastructure we have in place today. So we have to be working on that at the same time. So we're going to be doing that. So thank you for your charge to elevate education so that we are providing for every student access to excellent education. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I mean, what's going on with Harvard and some of these colleges that are taking vast amounts of money, who also have vast amounts. They've got $52 billion, and really scamming the public and hiring people like de Blasio and Lori Lightfoot, who were certainly two of the worst mayors in the history of our country, paying them a fortune salary and having them teach our children how to manage cities and how to manage government. What's the word as of this morning on, let's say, Harvard?
Well, we're negotiating with them. When we went back to them to say we welcome them back to the negotiating table, their response was a lawsuit. So Pam and her team are helping work with that. And I am, enjoying the fact not only am I firing myself, but I'm now being sued very regularly by different departments of education. But we're staying tough with them. The other thing that we're looking at also are the 117 violations of these big universities like Harvard and others who are not reporting, as they're required to do by law, foreign money that comes in and how much that is and where it comes from. And so that is and it's very serious.
Where are these people coming from?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
exactly.
We pulled back their grants because Harvard isn't responding to us criminal activity by their students. And until they give us that list, they're not getting any more grants from Homeland
Good.
Security.
I think we should put it back.
We did.
The students they have, the professors they have,
That's right.
the attitude they have is not American, and I think you should, a grant is a grant. We don't have to give grants.
Exactly right.
So we'll pull back the grant. Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. President, thank you for your extraordinary leadership. Over the past 100 days, we are already making America healthy again. We announced last week the ban on the 9 petroleum-based synthetic dyes, food dyes. Within 2 years, within 2 months, we're going to ban the worst 2 of them. I'm working with Secretary Rollins on dietary guidelines, the dietary guidelines that the President Biden's administration gave us. 453 pages. They're basically unreadable. And they are the product of the same kind of politicized science that drove Fruit Loops to the top of the food pyramid. And we're going to do real science, gold standard science. We're going to develop we have till December to do it, but we are working very, very fast together. We're going to get it done by the end of the summer in time to drive major dramatic changes in the school food, the school lunch programs over the next school year. I'm working also with Secretary Rollins on the SNAP program, and to get sodas and candy off of the food stamp program. 10% of food stamps go to the SNAP. And I want to thank you for your courage. You are a business-friendly president, probably the most business-friendly in our history, but you're also willing to stand up to very, very powerful businesses, and you've shown that again and again. Secretary Rollins had the soda industry come and knock on her door very much, and very loudly, and they said to her, well, the SNAP program is not supposed to be about nutrition. She pointed out to them that there is no nutrition in a soda. And they said, well, it's not supposed to be about nutrition. And she said to them, the name of the program is supplemental nutrition. So it is about nutrition. And we shouldn't, we have 38% of our kids are diabetic or pre-diabetic, and we are paying at both ends. We're paying for the food-like substances that make them diabetic, and then we're being bankrupt. We're spending $1 trillion a year on metabolic dysfunction. It's existential and it's not sustainable. I visited Arizona, West Virginia, Utah, and Indiana in the last 2 weeks, who have all applied for SNAP waivers. We're encouraging, thanks to Rollins' leadership, all of the states to apply for those waivers. I also visited Utah, which is the first state to ban supplemental fluoride. Florida yesterday passed a bill to ban supplemental fluoride. I'm confident Governor DeSantis is going to sign that. We are working, Lee Zeldin and I are working together to change the federal fluoride regulations, to change the recommendations, and we're looking at the science now. I want to point out that in August, the National Toxicity Program, which was an arm of the NIH, did a meta-review of all the science on fluoride and found that there's a direct inverse correlation between fluoride exposure and lower IQ in children. So the more you get, the stupider you are. And we need smart kids in this country, and we need healthy kids, and thank you for your leadership. We're going to get there. We're reviewing the GRAS standards now we're revamping them to get 10,000 ingredients that are in our foods. The Europeans only have 400 ingredients. We have 10,000. There are chemicals we know nothing about, and we are going to stop that process, and then we're going to go back and look at these chemicals and make the companies either get rid of them or to label them. We've launched Operation Stork Speed, and we're going full speed ahead to make sure that we have good, high-quality milk for children. We have launched the autism study at your direction. By September, we'll have some of the first answers. Within 6 months of that, we will have definitive answers, not only for autism, but for the etiology of a whole range of autoimmune diseases that have become epidemic in our children. We have ended HHS as the role as the vector, the principal vector in this country for child trafficking. And during the Biden administration, HHS became a collaborator in child trafficking and for sex and for slavery. And we have ended that, and we're very aggressively going out and trying to find these children, the 300,000 children that were lost by the Biden administration. And we have ended funding for gender mutilation surgeries and other kind of gender dysphoria practices. And thanks to Elon, we have saved $67 billion at our agency without compromising any of our critical programs. Mr. President, I want to thank you for your vision, for your leadership, for giving me the 100 busiest days of my life, and most exciting and most rewarding. And there's, over the next 100 days, we're going to do much, much more.
Thank you very much. Very important. Thank you. Doug, please.
Well, President Trump, on your first day in office, you wisely declared a national energy emergency. And this was essential because it was the signal that we're going to go 180 degrees from the disastrous and dangerous Biden policies that were based on a climate ideology that was the root cause of the inflation in this country. It was the root cause of wars abroad. It was the root cause of our manufacturing disappearing from our country. We can't have energy security. Without energy security, we can't have national security, and you understood that. But now with everything that's flowed from that, dozens of other EOs that you've done, America is back in the energy business. As Chris said, there's been a signal that's sent around the world. Capital is flowing, coming back in. The smart money is coming to this country. And now you've given us a chance to win the AI arms race against China. We know we're up against a formidable competitor. China opened up 94 gigawatts of coal in the last year. That's more than all of California and all of New York combined in the last year. We've had presidents in the past of the Biden administration that were running away again into this climate ideology. You've embraced baseload power in this country. I'll never forget standing in the East Room with you, surrounded by the coal miners from around this country, where you said, "Hey, big beautiful coal." As we work to try to identify the balance sheet of America, our earliest estimate is that the coal resources in America, just on public lands, could be worth $8 trillion with a T. That was all going to be taken off our balance sheet if we weren't going to touch it. But now we're back in the business. I was 1,800 feet underground in a coal mine in Alabama a couple weeks ago. They do metallurgical coal. Without metallurgical coal, we can't produce steel. This is a plant. This is a plant that would have been in a mining operation that would have been shut down under the Biden administration. What we're doing here, back in the business, we're doing leasing. We're leasing for oil and gas. We're leasing for timber with Brooke Rollins. We're leasing for grazing. We're leasing for critical minerals, which is key. And when we lease the public lands appropriately and by the law to do that, we're bringing in revenue. We're bringing in jobs. We're helping strengthen America. And so we're treating our natural resources like the American balance sheet they are. And America's resources, the 700 million acres of surface that's public, the 700 million of subsurface, the 2.5 billion offshore, all contain what we need to have self-sufficient supply chains. And so in this, we're focused deeply on critical minerals. The Biden administration put us in a real predicament right now. The whole trade team, the whole cabinet, Susie's jumping in, leadership across everybody, the National Energy Dominance Council. But of the top 20 critical and rare earth minerals that we need for defense, that we need for industry, China's controlling 85% of the refining for that. So we are running at warp speed 7 days a week to try to put ourselves back in business in that way. So, and I want to just close out by saying a couple other things. One is the border. Few people realize that 41% of the southern border is in Department of Interior. And then we've got a few more percent that come with Brooke and with the Forest Service. But that's been a risk area. Part of the reason everyone was pouring into our country, Biden wasn't enforcing the border laws. They definitely weren't enforcing it on public lands. And so again, using tying two presidents that had a great propensity for action, Theodore Roosevelt in 1907 created what was called the Roosevelt Reservation, 60-foot strip that go from Texas all the way to the Pacific Ocean, because he was worried in some future state there might be smuggling. I don't think he was anticipating human smuggling and fentanyl trafficking, but that has been largely unused. He gave us the authority to transfer that, and so working with Christie and working with Pete, we've transferred that to the DOD. So transferring land from the other agencies like Interior to the Department of Defense, then as Pete said, they can do the detain and assist with the military. And having been down at the border multiple times in recent week, I can confirm everything Christie said. The enthusiasm, the morale of that group is exactly 100% opposite of when Christie and I were down there as governors. I had Border Patrol people say that they were multi-generational service in that law enforcement that said, my wife and I are telling our children never to go into this thing, to go into Border Patrol. People this time were saying, I got a 17-year-old. As soon as they turn 18-year-old, they're signing up. My wife is thrilled. They're going into law enforcement. They're so proud to be serving with you. Everybody I've met, whether it's in a coal mine or at the border, law enforcement, the one thing they say on those trips is, please thank President Trump from all of us, the change that you're making. And I want to say especially this became very dear when we last week renamed U.S. Wildlife Refuge in honor of Jocelyn Nungare. Jocelyn Nungare, of course, lost her life tragically to illegal Venezuelan gang members in this country in a horrific way. But her mother, Alexis, was at that ceremony. Her grandmother was there, and Jocelyn's great-grandmother was there. There 3 other generations of that family were there. They all wanted to pass on their thank you to you too, and we've secured her name forever as a sanctuary, and really is saying that every child, every 12-year-old, every child in America should be safe in their own communities, and you've dedicated a beautiful piece on the coast in honor of her. So, President Trump, in your first